god. Whew. I'm stressed now whenever I do shit. Uh. Okay, that's... There it is. Yeah, okay, almost. Got it. Get nicely sized. Almost. There we go. Let me just get the timer too while I'm at it. Okay, time for Chaos Head. We'll be getting a Yase route, which will be interesting. FES. Button to press. Button to press. That button to press.
誰もいない。誰も動いていない。体が動かない。
I think Yua's route gives us the best idea of what to expect
17歳。
from all the others, but especially since they all will be starting after chapter 7, except for me. So it was kind of interesting that it didn't take a romance route with Yua, because that's what I kind of expected to happen, especially after what happened with Nanami. But we'll see. We're definitely gonna learn a lot more about FES, which will be interesting because she is very interesting. She is a peculiar little being. I'm just gonna do the bad deletion here just so I don't have to worry about triggering the Yua route again. Because that's not the goal. Yeah, this is still chapter 1. I bought that soda with my own money. Have we not done the neutral reaction of it? I guess not, huh? Or no, never mind, it just got stuck. It's gonna be like, I thought we did the neutral for that one, but yeah. Visual novel speedrun, let's go. Hello, Kibby. Okay, so we're in chapter 2. Nope, this one. This. I'm just gonna not submit anything. Looked right at me. Here we go. We need 2 negative delusion. Yeah, negative delusion for a say here. Interesting. FES wants me to save her. Okay, yeah, here we go. Here's new shit. Right, I remember getting brought here the first time around. But yes. I want to give in to her temptation. No. It would feel so good to jump. Yes, apparently. I'd be willing to die if I could do it with FES. Yes, apparently. I want to be released from everything. Yes. Well, I think I have a feeling how, this is gonna go.
ねえナイトハルト
Oh dear. Miyase Kishimoto stood in front of the school's gate in the morning, looking up at the sky. The other students were passing her by. She noticed the strange looks they gave her, but didn't care. Her eyes were filled with a kind of powerless lethargy. For Ayase, going to school was meaningless. Even now, in her 3rd year, it still felt strange to wear a uniform. Why? Because the world was about to be destroyed. There were more important things to do than go to school. That's how Ayase felt anyway. Still, she came, because she was searching for the door and the other Black Knights. Suime Academy was the place where the Black Knights would gather. No, where they would be gathered, more accurately. That was how Ayase saw it. She'd always been a problem child, rarely ever going to middle school. Middle school was compulsory in Japan, but high school wasn't. She never expected to go there. Yeah, that's actually a thing that I learned during my Japanese class about how, like, it's kind of only recent for, like, high school being more or less mandatory. Not really, but that's also, like, why entrance exams exist in high schools, which isn't really a thing here in the States. And there actually is still, like, 1 to 2%, something like that, of students that just don't go to high school and just go straight into, like, work, like, say, in the fields or things like that. So it's just interesting how that's, like, pretty different. But in May of her 1st year, she transferred in anyway. She still remembered it well. On that day, she was also standing here in front of the school. Until then, she lived at a facility run by the Arcart Medical Group. There, she endured hellish trials until she'd finally become a Black Knight. After a month or so of rest to restore her damaged mental state, she'd been exiled from the facility. The director of the facility, she didn't care enough to remember his name, had said this to her just before she left. Starting tomorrow, you'll be attending a school in Shibuya called CMA Academy. Their preparations have already been made. She was not told the reason. So, on the day she transferred here, she stood in front of the school gate and sang a little song to herself. When the heavens turn red, and the king of wicked hearts stirs in the womb, 7 wicked hearts will be born, to someday gather at the holy grounds. There, they will declare, all disaster, all nightmare, all lumps of dark flesh, by wicked hearts and wicked hearts buried, and the world ruled by the king of wicked hearts shall shatter. It was a line from a myth published under the title The Apocalyptic Psalms of the Book of Gladiel. Remembering it satisfied her. This, she knew, was where the Black Knights would gather. So, she waited. And she searched. Until now, there had been no sign at all of any wicked hearts. But now, at last, one had appeared. She found someone who could become a Black Knight. To Ayase, this change came far too late, but it was still a welcome change indeed. There was little time left. Gladiel's awakening is upon us. She whispered this softly, then she stepped through the gate of the school to see the other Black Knight, the boy she'd seen at the concert. Close the P. My body froze. Okay. I was just getting stuck to be stuck. It feels weird doing Chaos Head in daytime. I will say that. It's normally night, like firmly night, so it's not unwelcome, just different. Maybe I wasn't sleepwalking. Maybe the person controlling me. A me who wasn't me. Another personality who wasn't me. Huh? New chat. Another crazy cheat. Find it, you'll be saved. I was gonna save myself from them. The sword. Yep. It's still the same. This is so exciting. I love one speedrun visual novel. Wee pleasant time.
よし、繋がった。
Yes, I saw a sword. Yes, I saw a sword clearly. No, I could not get it if I could move from here. No, I could not see the sword someplace that wasn't here either. Yes, it's not actually a sword. Now smooth sailing from here. Yoa was definitely a little more involved than FES is so far, which would Make it more interesting when we finally get to properly starting the route. Or I guess more of being in the FES ending rather than being in her route, because we already are in her route. Now that we've done all the neutral endings, it's been like a lot more smooth sailing, which is nice. At least I think we've done almost all of the neutral delusions, not endings. Like, there still could be some that we haven't done, and I think we're not really going to be likely to reach those until, doing Doremi, because Doremi starts after Chapter 8. We'll see, though. We'll see, though. Hmm. Okay. But I come anyway for a reason. To see Doremi. I'm sure my Dokyun classmates would be making fun of me again. It hurt, but I'd be willing to put up with it if it meant possibly seeing Doremi. Why is this not skippable? There was a chance that Shogun would come back. He seemed to be coming after me as some sort of game, which meant the next quest might start whenever he felt like it. That scared me. The reason I wanted a D-sword in the first place was because I was so scared of him. How was I supposed to protect myself from him without the sword? Have Remy stay with me? But Remy wasn't coming to school, and that worried me. And what if he took Remy hostage like he did Nanemi? Wasn't there anybody who could help me? I entered the classroom with my head down, and took a single look around the room before I sat down. First, at Amy's seat. Empty. Was she absent again today? Was she really not coming to school? Or was something more going on? I got worried. Next, Kozupi. She was sitting in her seat, looking down, making herself as small as possible. Good morning, Takumi. Good morning, Kozupi. We didn't look at each other, but we exchanged greetings in our mind. The Dokyun girls were grinning at me. It had only been a day. The label of creepy loser otaku who made a mess on TV wasn't coming off that quickly. The Dokyun boys evidently weren't here yet. Those guys would often skip first period. That was more than fine by me. I sat down. Then, someone slapped me on the back. Hey, Taku. It was Misumi, with an awkward expression on his face. He hadn't slapped me nearly as hard as he used to. And just yesterday he'd been ignoring me. Why was he talking to me again? If he did, it would ruin his life. The Dokyuns in the class would bully him. Yeah, Misumi would be better off if he didn't talk to me at all. When I didn't respond, Misumi forced a smile onto his face. Come on, man. It's early in the morning to look that gloomy. Well, I know that's just the kind of guy you are. He was being as rude as ever, but I didn't feel like he was being mean. It was just how he always talked. Anyway, you know, I'm sorry about yesterday. He's apologizing. I kinda didn't know how to talk to you. But I thought about a lot of things, and I decided to just go back to how things were before. Okay? He said this so casually. He was just gonna treat me like he had before. Even though I was a creepy loser, I without wanting anything in return? Oh, damn. I was feeling wet. If Misumi wanted to do me, I'd let him. I don't think this definitely didn't happen before. Hello? Well, I'll tell you the truth. Girls like it when I'm nice to you. And he killed the moment. He's nice to everybody. Even that loser. What a cool guy. Like that. Nice Misumi. Die in a fire. And he's willing to offer you my virginity too. If you hadn't told me, I never would have realized what you were really after. But, well, the way he came out and said it was just who he was. Open and friendly about everything. That was enough for me to get over it. I suddenly let out a chuckle. Hey, did you hear about Kishimoto? She's still in the hospital. She wasn't really hurt, but she's in a bad spot mentally. Listen to me, Taku. If you want to win a girl's heart, the best time to do it is when she's in a vulnerable spot. What a fucker. And so that's why I'm going to visit her in the hospital, you see? Why is this not skippable? I swear we've done this. Hey Taku, you talked to Kishimoto a few times, right? You want to come with me? Well, it sounded like something Misumi would say. And it was something I'd never even thought about either. Yeah, say huh? With Rimi gone, she might be the only person left I could rely on. So, okay, that was the key difference in that scene. Just, there was no Rimi at all. Huh. The 7th murder. Another one. Another new gen murder. How long was this going to keep happening? Would the next one be the one where they finally got me, or the one after that? Anyway, had Grim gotten a job at the new gen advertising divisions? And yeah, blah blah blah. Yeah, we know why, but... No, is that not skipping? Dokyum puzzle.
今日午前4時50分頃、東京都渋谷区の線路沿いで男性3人の他殺死体が鉄柱に吊り下げられているのを通りかかった新聞販売員の男性が発見しました。
Wait, it's different. That's why it's not skippable. I'll read from this point on. I do feel a little bad for skipping the information before, but that means last time, because last time it wasn't skippable either. The way the three were killed was also different. I don't remember how they died originally. Fuck, this is gonna bother me now. Because they definitely weren't hanging from a utility tower before. Same time of death. At approximately 4:50 a.m. today, a newspaper delivery man found the bodies of 3 men hanging from a utility tower near the train tracks in Shibuya. A police investigation revealed that the bodies belonged to 3 Shibuya residents. A college student named Sabaru Anzawa, a part-time worker named Ryo Takagi, and Kohei Fujita, who was unemployed. All 3 had their bodies severed at the torso, and the top-bottom halves were switched with another of the murdered men. Yeah, that's still true. Strange, distinctive injuries were found on their foreheads, which the police believe may be a message from the killer. Shibuya has suffered from a number of bizarre murders over the past 2 months, and authorities are treating this as another in the same series of incidents. The last video I saw showed the faces of the 3 murdered men. I recognized their faces. It's them. They mugged me yesterday. I gave them my wallet, but they still attacked me anyway. They passed out, and when I woke up, Kozupi was there. The 3 of them were covered in blood. I took my wallet out of my pocket and stared at it. When I'd woken up, Kozupi was holding my wallet, and she'd given it back to me. Could it be the one who Could she be the lead hero? Rather. No, that wasn't right. When I'd seen them last, their faces were smashed up and they were covered in blood, but they certainly weren't sliced in half. They'd been killed after Kozuki and I had left. Not to be Shogun. He was taunting me. He was trying to destroy my mind. I felt like I was about to throw up. My stomach was racked with pain. I put my hands up against it hard to try to make the feeling go away. Would I be next? Would the next one finally be the one where I was killed? I was scared. Mimi, help me. Where'd she gone? Wasn't she supposed to protect me? Okay, this is the new Ayase POV, but before that, I need to look. Blah 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 blah. Blah blah blah. This is gonna bother me. Hello. Right Man Child was the name of that one. Oh, okay. I didn't remember what some of these were because they had like screenshots of the blah 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 thingies. Anyways. 3 male corpses were discovered at one of the iron poles. Oh, okay. I guess that's just how it was and I forgot. I swear they weren't on the utility port before. Maybe I'm just stupid and forgot. Wait. Oh, now I'm mad. There's this trivia here about Shido from Steins Gate. He calls himself part of the new generation, making an approving reference to the new generation madness and pretending like he was part of it. That fucker. But that begs the question as to why it's not referenced more in Steins Gate. Because it's obviously a big... Okay, anyways. Yosuke Kishimoto was staring out the window, only half paying attention to anything going on around her. There were no bars on the windows like there were in the rooms at Arcart Medical, the place she'd been before. Outside, she could see the high-rise buildings of Shinjuku, and beyond them, a blazing evening sky. A few pigeons were flapping furiously across it. Occasionally, she would wince in pain. Her eyes were empty, and just a little tired. She wasn't humming the songs that had so entranced the young people of Shibuya. After her failed suicide attempt, she'd been brought to a big general hospital in Yogi. Her wounds had almost completely healed. The doctors had said it was a miracle that a fall from that height had ended in only a few minor scrapes and bruises. Still, she'd hit her head hard, so she'd been hospitalized for observation. She'd been here for a week she's been here over a week already. Of course, observation meant nothing more than a simple checkup every 2 days. The rest of the time, she was left to herself. She had the room to herself. There were no other beds in it. Her D-sword was up against the window, flashing with a pale light. It'd been up there the whole time she'd been here, but nobody had noticed it. She didn't get many visitors. A dozen fans were, supposedly, coming in large numbers every day, but the hospital had banned them from seeing her, so they wouldn't bother the other patients. She and her family weren't close. Almost nobody else came to see her. Her bandmates had come to see her once. When she mentioned breaking up with the band, though, they had stopped coming at all. Kishimoto, did your thermometer go beep? The door opened and a nurse in white came in. Miyase slowly turned toward her, and then took the thermometer out from under her arm like she just remembered it was there. The nurse looked at the number on the digital display and wrote it down on the chart. 37.1 degrees Celsius. We got a little fever, maybe. My head hurts. Miyase winced in pain again. Oh my, another headache? It's a side effect of the medicine, though. We'll eventually go away. The nurse spoke with a smile and took the thermometer. Her expression was gentle, and there was something about her that put a patient at ease. Fuck her. Ayase put her hand to her forehead and shook her head. Ever since she came here, Ayase had been dealing with a dull headache. Painful wasn't the word for it. But there was an unpleasant sensation of something pulsing in her head. It was making it hard for her to think. And her whole body felt as heavy as lead. This had happened to Ayase before too. It was when she was at Arcart Medical. The headaches had lasted 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. She was unable to sleep and emotionally unstable. It was a past she didn't want to remember, a past she sealed away, her memories of 2 years ago. The pain was the trigger that made them come flashing back. A dark room, a small window with bars. Except for the small window, the walls were entirely covered with mirrors. She'd been restrained in a steel chair in the center of the room. There was some kind of device on her head, with cords stretching off of it. Her hands were bound behind the chair's back. Her head was restrained at a slight angle. There was no one else in the room. The only sounds were her panting for air and the straining of the metal chair. Jewel was flying from her lips. An obscene howl was coming from her throat that one would have thought impossible for a girl her age. Kill me. Kill me. It was a very quiet form of torture. There was only one thing they were doing to her. A single drop of water was falling on her forehead from above, in the same spot every time, at precise 5-second intervals. That was all. She'd been stuck like that for 2 days with no rest. And now all she could think of is when the next drop would fall. Her senses were pushed to their limits. Each time a drop fell, it felt like all the nerves in her body were being ripped apart. Like all the bones in her body were being shattered to pieces. Like a long, sharp awl was being driven into her skull. Like all the fluids in her body, including her blood, were freezing. Like all her skin was rotting and slowing off. It was more than enough to drive her mad. She snapped back to reality to find herself panting and clutching the sheets tightly. Her whole body had started to shake when her dark memories came back. The nurse was gone from her room. It was dinner time. There was a frantic rush of movement outside the doors. Yase repeated the words that the nurse had said to herself. Was this headache really caused by the medicine? Or had she hit her head when she'd fallen? Or was it an effect of her old memories? She couldn't tell. Yase wiped away the sweat on her forehead and began to laugh. I don't care. I don't care what you do to me now. I survived the divine punishment. I know exactly what I have to do. she whispered, as if in a trance. Then, suddenly, she heard a sound coming from the hallway. It was the pleasant sound of shoes on linoleum. They weren't the nurse's footsteps, she could tell that much. The footsteps were getting closer to her room. There was a knock at the door. She pressed her lips together tightly in a frown. Hello there. It was a man. He was holding a fruit basket, the type commonly given as a gift. There. He also recognized the man, thus she looked at him suspiciously. Hey there. Oh, don't worry. I'm not here to hurt you. I am... I know. He was a detective from the Tokyo Metropolitan Police. He'd once been tailing her as a person of interest in the new Gen case. He scratched his head happily. For a detective, he seemed surprisingly laid back. Aw, it makes me happy to have a pretty girl like you remember me, I mean. You've got a good memory. The detective walked toward her bed. He also glanced at the D-sword on the windowsill. It was too far away for her to reach out and grab. I was thinking you might want some company, so I brought you this fruit basket. Ah yes, the ideal form of company. A fruit basket. I don't think that's true. What do you want? You're pretty sharp, huh? The detective acted like he was shaken, but it felt a little like an act. Well, I guess there's something I want to ask you. Oh, here. This is for you. He offered her the fruit basket with an innocent smile, practically forcing her to take it by placing it at the foot of her bed. It's really good fruit. Also, it was really expensive. No thanks. Come on, don't say that. I already spent the money on it. And when your mom comes later, you can share it with her or something. Oh, whoops. You haven't seen your parents for years, have you? It was clear the detective knew exactly what he was doing, but he also didn't really care. Her parents had disowned her when she was very little. They were the type to really care about what the neighbors thought of them, and they also was a problem child they were eager to be rid of. She was entirely cut off from them, though. They sent her enough money to pay her living expenses every month. Sorry. He gave her a little bob of his head in apology. He also was only now starting to recover from her flashback earlier, and didn't really want to talk to the detective at all. She decided to get this over with as fast as possible. What did you want to ask me about? My alibi? Nah, we already talked to you about that more than enough. You're not under suspicion anymore. You're innocent. Completely innocent. Do you have a suspect then? For the murders? They can't tell you that. Classified information, you see. Takumi? It's a secret. The detective was grinning. He was clearly hiding something. When he left, you could see just how young he still was. Nishijo's certainly a strange boy, though. He doesn't look like a murderer at all, you know? If he really is the killer, then he's a demon wearing human skin. He's still a suspect, isn't he? No, that's actually not true. The detective laughed and shook his head. Oh, don't tell anyone I said that. My bosses get mad when I leak information. I mean, of course they do. My partner screwed up just the other day, and I got yelled at for it. I mean... You think you've met him, Ayase? Do you remember? Blah blah blah. Ah, there it is. Trying to find cable. His name is Ban. Older guy, messy hair, stubble. Yes, I remembered him. And they come to talk to her. It was the older man, not the one in front of her. He done most of the speaking. He'd been pretty aggressive and sneaky too. He always yells at me, you know. Calls me an idiot. I mean... But what does he do? He ignores his job and goes off to look into weird stuff. And then he forces me to come with him. Lately, I've been getting the worst stomach aches. I mean, he's a good guy at heart, and he's really smart. Supposedly, he's solved a bunch of really tough cases, but, you know... Is that why you came here? To complain about your partner? The detective chuckled when Ayase cut him off. No, sorry. I lost control of myself for a moment. Please, don't tell anybody what I said. I, Mamoru Suwa, am begging you. So, first question. Why did you do it? Even Ayase could tell he was talking about how she jumped off the roof. I've already told this story many times to the other detectives. To stop Gladio, the king of wicked hearts, from reviving? Was that it? It wasn't a suicide attempt. It was trying to bring my soul to a higher plane. That's all. You were saying something similar about that song of yours. The one all the kids are listening to. That was the second question. Yes, he couldn't help but sigh a little. That song's not about New Gen. It was inspired by the apocalyptic psalms of the Book of Gladio, Chapter 3, verse 102. Gladio, the king of wicked hearts, is about to descend upon our world. 7 stakes, forged from the black blood he shed, were needed to stop his revival. The stakes will become swords, passed into the hands of 7 black knights, who have overcome the divine punishment of God. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Only humans who bear wicked hearts of their own can defeat the king of wicked hearts. It's kind of like a movie, huh? I love it when they've got a cool backstory like that. Yase's eyes narrowed at the detective's comment. It's not a story. It's real. Okay, last question. The detective ignored her protests, but she was used to that. Nobody had ever believed what she had to say. We did some checking on a bunch of Suine students besides you, Nishijo. He crossed his arms and heaved a little sigh. It felt like an obvious act, but Yase wasn't inclined to call him out. What? This is a really stupid question. And I know it's not like the kind of thing that a cop's supposed to ask. It's kind of childish. I see. If you're not going to ask the question, then leave. My head hurts. Oh, actually, Bon was saying something weird. That you guys might be mages. Yase's eyes narrowed, just a little, the phrase, you guys. That's not true, is it? It's true. She was looking down at her hands instead of that detective as she spoke. You're a fascinating girl, Yase. But New Gen has nothing to do with Gladio. See. Detective yawned after he spoke, disinterested in his voice. And then suddenly, electronic sound filled the room. Detective practically pulled a phone out of his suit pocket. Crap. You're not supposed to use your phone in a hospital. I forgot to turn it off. Well, and it's from a girl too. I've got a girl I'm in love with. We've been dating for 4 years. He grinned as he pressed the button to reject the call. He turned back toward Ayase. You a movie buff, Ayase? You ever heard of Spark Wars? That was Count Darth Spider's theme. He's a character in the movie. She wasn't interested in movies at all. Yosei already decided she was under no obligation to answer any more of his questions, and suddenly turned to look out the window. I'm a huge Spark Wars geek, you know. Oh, you don't care. Sorry then. Anyway, have a nice night. Fucking Sua. The detective left the room without waiting for her answer. Yosei didn't bother to watch him as he went. Her eyes were watching the sky as it shifted from twilight to azure night. I'm surprised it's not skipping because this isn't new content, but whatever. It's not gonna skip, it's not gonna skip, right? The reason I come to school on Thursday was because I ended up agreeing to go see Ayase with Misumi. He practically dragged me along with him. At the same time, I was hoping that Ayase might be able to help me. With Rimi gone, I needed somebody to help me. Ayase was the first girl that came to mind. If her injuries were healed, and if I asked for her help, she might be able to do something. And with her help, my odds of getting a real D-sword would get way higher. I was powerless on my own. And she told me before that you couldn't teach somebody how to get a sword. But still, Ayase might be able to help somehow. Misumi had gone in through the front door, but when he got to the lobby, he didn't seem sure what to do. I asked him what was wrong.
Yeah.
And I just realized that I don't know what room she's in. Had he come all this way without actually bothering to check? If so, what an idiot. This is the outpatient wing. The inpatient rooms are next door. Really? AH Tokyo General Hospital. This is the hospital I'd come to ever since I was little. I'd just been here a while ago, in fact. I had a pretty good idea of the basic layout. Suddenly, I remember what had happened to Dr. Takashino, and moaned so softly that the others didn't hear. As Misumi headed for the inpatient rooms, I looked behind me. So, what do you think her room number is? And I don't know. This was a general hospital, with any number of departments in it. I'll guess. Maybe surgery? But maybe the mental ward. When she'd fallen, she hadn't looked like she was that badly injured. And if she was in bad enough shape mentally to try and jump off a building, it's entirely possible they put her there. It happened to me after the incident at O Front for some reason. You're pretty smart. Yeah, Rimi isn't here. That's so interesting. Well, that's a difference. Misumi and I figured that we'd bother the other patients if we wandered around, so we decided to ask about Ayase at the nurse station. Just as I thought. They gave us a number for a room in the psych ward. Hey, remember what I told you? About the easiest way to seduce a girl? As we walked down the hallway, Misumi was grinning at me. It wasn't really an appropriate topic of discussion for a hospital, I thought. I think what he said was that if you want to win a girl's heart, the best time to do it is when she's in a vulnerable spot. Today's the day. I'm going to seduce the unseducible Kishimoto. Oh, buddy. He flashed his teeth at me and gave me a thumbs up. He was handsome and cheerful, but the words he was saying were awful. It must be nice to be so hot the girls will forgive you even when you're a shithead. So, well, that's where you come in. You and Kishimoto are close, right? Not? No. Aww, don't lie to me. I need you to back me up here. Tell her what an awesome guy Daisuke Misumi is. You're kind of a shithead though, buddy. It's okay. We carry you anyway. At least I carry him.
無理だよ。
I can't.
無理とか言
Come
わなって
on, don't say that.
マジ頼むから
Help a
さ
guy out here. Knock it off. This is a hospital, not some sleazy bar. Is it okay to go to see Ayase like this? She didn't seem to like Misumi that much. My stomach started to hurt.
お
Hey,
タク
Taku.
病室はこ
I
こじゃ
think
ね
this
え
is her
か
room. Misumi stopped and pointed out the plate on the side of the door. It read, Ayase Kishimoto. The door was shut and there was no way to tell what was going on inside.
いいか
You ready?
うまく
Let's play
俺に
along
話
with
を合
what
わ
I
せろ
say.
よ
Huh?
うん
Okay. I decided to just nod. I needed to talk to her too. Without Misumi there to help me, I didn't feel like I'd be able to do that.
おーせ
Hey,
岸本さん
Misumi greeted her cheerfully as he opened the door.
お見舞いに
I
来た
came to visit
Z-
you. Suddenly, his tone dropped. His expression froze. I looked over his shoulder into the room to see what was wrong. Oh. Huh. So, Dreamy is there. And I think that's Nanami's D-Sword, isn't it? Oh, that's interesting. Okay. The room was small and simple in layout. There was a bathroom on the right side from the entrance, and a bed near the back, and on the bed. Oh. Ayase was sitting there, covered in blood. Her dead eyes were staring at us. Valid. I wanted to run away too, but my legs weren't moving. I was shaking with fear. But I was also struck by how bewitchingly beautiful Ayase looked as she was covered in blood. As somebody I saw lying up against the wall behind her. I couldn't move. Casually placed up against the wall was a D-sword. More than a D-sword. 3 D-swords. Count. There it is. No, not just 1. 3. Including the one she'd had with her before. All of them looked different. One had a strange, streamlined form that barely looked like a sword at all. One had a form like a crucifix. It was painful to even look at. And one was the mysterious, almost mystical weapon I'd seen her holding before. Why did Ayase have 3 D-swords? Wait, since when was there a rule that you could only have 1 D-sword? You know what, that is a good point, but... It's possible that Sena and Kosubi had several different looking weapons too.
Takumi.
Takumi. I shuddered when she called my name. She walked toward me.
来て
You
くれたの
came,
ね
then.
どうして
Why is there so
そんなに血が
much blood? The red blood on her pajamas still wasn't dry. The raw scent stung my nose.
黒騎士の血よ
This is the blood of the
これは
Black Knight. Why?
黒騎士って
Knight?
綾瀬
Your
本人
blood?
いいえ
No.
ちょっと
Then
誰
who?
綾瀬はその人を
Did you kill
殺したの
them? Ayase's eyes narrowed, and she laughed.
怯えているのね
You're scared, aren't you,
Takumi.
Takumi? Her bloody fingers stroked my cheek.
でも君
But
を
what's
怯えさ
making
せてい
you
るのは
afraid?
君
is
自身の
inside your
心の内にあるものよ不浄なる邪
Defeat
心
your
に打ち
impure
勝って
wicked heart.
純粋な邪
Keep
心
only
のみ
your
を
pure
心に
wicked
留める
heart
のよ
within you.
そうすれば
That's how you'll get
Disorders
your
are things
D-sword.
手に入れてもらわ
I
なく
need
ち
you
ゃい
to
け
get
ない
your D-sword.
君は
You
Could
are a
it kiss you now?
Black Knight.
君には
And you
力
have
が
the
ある
power.
ディソードを手
If
に入
I
れたら
get the D-sword, will
僕
you
も殺す
kill
の
me too?
黒騎士を殺し
You
て
killed the
きたの
others, right?
惑わされない
Don't be deceived.
それが
That is your
不浄
impure
なる
wicked
邪心
heart.
よ。
Nyase was staring into my eyes with a hand on my cheek. Her eyes looked empty, but also felt like there was a deep light within them. I couldn't look away from her.
黒騎士
A
は
black knight
本
should
来
be
なら
able to
邪心を
control
制
their
御でき
wicked
るわ。
heart.
けれど
But the king of
邪心は
wicked
巧
hearts
妙だっ
was
た。
clever.
グラジオル記
The
黙示
sixth
録
book
詩
of
編
the
第
apocalyptic
6
Psalms of
2
Gladio,
章50
chapter
節
2, verse 50.
グラジオルは
Gladio
邪
infects
心
the
を
wicked
少し
heart
ずつ侵
subtly
食するこ
and
とで
slowly, quietly
静かに
taking
支配
over
を
and
完
making
了し
them lose control.
邪心の暴走を引き起こすのよ。負けては
You
いけ
must
ない
not
わ。
lose this fight.
邪心
Your
は
fight
精
against
神
the
侵
psychic
略。
invasion of the king of wicked hearts. I never spent so long gazing into the eyes of a 3D girl. The sadness, loneliness, the strength in her eyes compelled me to keep staring. I hadn't really heard a single thing she said. But protect me. I whispered without even realizing I'd done so. But protect me,
守ってくれ。
please.
いいわ。
Very well. She nodded, far more easily than I expected. She brought her face closer. The smell of blood got stronger, naturally.
これは
This was
予定され
ordained
ていた
from
こ
the
と。
start. She whispered in my ears. My heart was racing.
君を守るわ。
I'll protect you.
君
So,
も
I want
私
you
を
to
守って。
protect me. Standing there covered in blood, she was ravishing, tempting, seductive. It was hard to believe she was my classmate.
他の黒騎士は
The other Black Knights,
当て
I
には
can't
できな
count
い。
on them anymore.
最初は
I
予
tried
言
to
通り
gather
の
them
黒騎士
together
を
as
集
the
めようと思
prophecy
ったけ
said,
れど
but
私
I
の
wasn't
力で
strong
は無理
enough.
だった。でも
But
匠がいてく
with
れる
your
なら
help. It had been the same way at the concert. Sometimes the Yase could look incredibly sexual. Hello, she is covered in blood.
いずれ完全
Soon,
に開
the
く
gate of
呼吸とその門は
Coxitis will
その
fully
時
open.
邪
When
心
that
がこの
happens,
世に降
the
臨
king
す
of
る。
wicked hearts will descend upon this earth.
だから
That's why we need to
Isn't
hurry
that
and gather them.
7本の
The
理想
7
の
D swords. I see. Hmm.
私と
You
King.
and I. Together.
2人で
There were 3 swords lying up against the wall, which meant there were 4 left.
うち1本は
One of those is the
Takumi.
one you are
君が見つけ
supposed
るべ
to
き理想
find.
だよ。
僕は
I
手に入れられなかっ
couldn't
た。
find it. I come close out the old front building. When that ended, I'd abandoned Nanami and ran away. I'd given up on getting it.
落ち込むことはないわ。
You don't need to worry.
機会はいくらでも
There'll
やっ
be
て
any
くる。
number of chances.
すでに匠は
You can
見えている
already
んだから。
see,
それこそが
and that's proof
君が
that
黒
you
騎
are
士で
a
ある
black
証拠よ。
knight.
いつか
Will I get
手
it
に入る
someday?
のかな。
不浄なる邪
If you
心
can
の打ち
defeat
方
your
は
impure wicked heart,
必ず
then yes. What was a wicked heart? Did she mean how my mind was constantly thinking of naughty delusions? More than just the naughty ones, but yes. That would be very difficult. I don't think I could beat it at all. Yase left me and headed to the bed. She began to casually undo her top.
着
I'm
替え
going
る
to
わ。
change.
ちょ、
Hey, wait. I looked away quickly. I thought about just leaving the room outright, but
そこにいて
stay there. Now I couldn't go anywhere. The sound of Iyase disrobing echoed through the silent hospital room. This room wasn't that big. It was bigger than the base, of course. But still, and it was just me and Iyase in this cramped space. And Iyase was behind me, changing. I could sense her taking her clothes off, even if I couldn't see it. Crap, I was getting really nervous. There was no reason to be nervous, though. I'd already experienced the exact situation in Higashi Matasema's age game. A slime girl appears. Why should I be nervous now?
なぜ目をそらすの？
Why are you looking away, Takumi? I mean,
みーちゃん
I
まずい
shouldn't
し
look. My voice was on the verge of cracking.
恥ずかしいの
You're
ね。
embarrassed, aren't you?
綾瀬は
Aren't you
恥ずかしく
embarrassed?
ないの。
Does she mean it was okay to stare? I'm not into 3D girls, okay? I mean it. I really do. Though, I mean, if she's saying I can look, I guess I will.
惑わされているのよ。
You're
君
being
は
deceived.
その感情こ
The
そが
emotions you're
邪視
feeling
に侵
are
食され
proof
てい
of
る証
that.
拠。
惑わされているって
Deceived
誰
by
に
who?
邪神
Gladio.
グラ
The
ジ
Knight
オ
of Wicked Hearts. I looked over at the paperback on the side table in front of me and picked it up. The title read, The Apocalyptic Psalms of Gladio, Book 17.
グラジオールって
What is Gladio?
邪悪なる存
An
在。
evil being.
負の妄想
A
の
mass of
塊。
negative delusions.
人の心
A
の闇に
collective
偏在す
unconscious,
る
omnipresent of the darkness of the human heart.
世界に
A
破
god
滅
who
をも
brings
たらす
destruction
神。
to the world.
言い方はい
There
ろ
are
い
any
ろ。
number of ways to describe him.
そいつは
Does he
車
have
椅
a
子に乗ってる
wheelchair?
の。
Like,
足
he
が
can't
不
walk
自
or
由とか
something?
グラジオール
There's
は
no guarantee
人の
that
形をし
Gladio
てい
will
るとは
take
限ら
human
ない
form.
わ。もういいわよ。
It's okay.
こっち
You
を
can
見
turn
て。
around now. I very slowly turned around. She'd already changed. For some reason. She was dressed in her school uniform. Okay, but like... She killed Rimi and Nanami then? Because those are their D swords. I don't like it here. I don't like it here anymore. This was not what I was expecting. Good to know. None of the endings are gonna set us up for preparation for any of the other endings. That is what I'm learning. Fuck.
なんで制
Why
服
are
に
you wearing your uniform?
迫っている
It's
から。
coming.
グラジオ
The
ール
time of
覚醒の
Gladio's
時が。
awakening is at hand.
いつでも
I
動け
need
る
to
よう
be
にして
ready
お
to
かない
act
と。
at any moment. Does she need to wear her uniform for that? No, that didn't matter right now.
グラジオールが
What does
ギガ
Gladio
ロマ
have
ニア
to
ックと
do
どう
with
関係して
the
くるの
Gigalomaniacs?
ギガロ
The Gigolo?
何
What? I don't know why that's funny to me. Miasa's eyes narrowed. Just a little. Does she not know what they were? Maybe Senna was the only one who used that phrase. No.
ギガロマニアックスだよ
Gigolomaniacs. That's what
セナは
Senna
ギソー
called
ドを持
people
つ
who had
力
the
の持ち
power
主の
of
こ
the
と
D
そう呼んで
sword.
たディソード
She
は
said something about it,
ディラックの海に
D
繋が
sword
った
being
パ
a
イプだとか
pipe
なん
to
とか
the Dirac Dirac, I don't know.
呼び方は人
There
そ
might
れ
be
ぞれ
any
かもし
number
れ
of
ないわ。
names for it.
ディソード
The
は
D sword is a
人の邪
manifestation
心を
of a
具現
human
化した
being's
ものよ。
wicked heart,
グラジオール
such
記
as
目視
written
録
in
詩
the
編に
apocalyptic
kaite
Psalms of Gladio.
第3
Book
巻
3,
11
Chapter
章
11,
23
verse
節
23. She really has these books memorized, huh? Jesus.
預言書なのよ。
It's a book of
それは
prophecies, you see. Yasu's gaze was locked on the paperback in my hands.
みんなはこう言うわ。
Everyone says the same
私が
thing,
歌詞によって
that my
予
lyrics
知
are
を
a
行ってい
prophecy.
ると。だけど
But
私
all
は
I'm doing
グ
is
ラジ
taking
オール記目視
inspiration
録
from
詩
the
編から
apocalyptic
イン
Psalms
ス
of
ピ
the
レーショ
Book
ンを
of
受けている
Gladio.
だけ。その詩編
The
こそ
Psalms are the
預言
prophecy,
の書なのよ。
not my songs.
なぜ気づ
Why
か
doesn't
ないの？
anyone realize
誰も。
this? Because no one else reads the Psalms?
予言の書っ
A
て
book of prophecy?
冗談でし
You're
ょ
kidding, right?
事実よ。
It's true.
この渋谷で
What's
今
happening in
まさ
Shibuya
に
right
起きてい
now?
ることを、
What's going to
そして
happen in the future?
これから起きよう
All
と
of
して
it
い
was
ることを
prophesied by
スイグラは予言し
Ziegler, who made it
物語
into
に
a
してい
story.
る。
シーグラー
Ziegler?
グラジオル記
The
黙示
author
録詩
of
編
the
の作者
Psalms
個人だけれど
has passed away,
シーグラ
but I
は
believe
強
him
大
to
な
have
黒
been
騎
an
士だったと
incredibly
思う
powerful Black Knight.
私は
Were what I used to call Black Knights the same as Gigalomaniacs? And if that was the case, it would make sense that the author could use his Gigalomaniac powers to write a book of prophecies. I flipped through the book I was holding, The Apocalyptic Psalms of Gladiel, Book 17, and I gasped. It was blank. I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, definitely wasn't expecting that. I flipped through every page, not a single one had a single word on it. What the hell was this? I looked at the cover. There was no illustration on the cover, just the title and the name of the author. I couldn't see the name of the publisher on it anywhere. I went back to the very first page, but it was blank, just like the rest. And I went all the way through. Not a single page had anything on it.
これ
Is this
不良品
defective?
どういうこと
What do you mean?
だって
I mean,
これ全部白
all
紙じ
the
ゃないか
pages are blank.
何を言ってい
What
る
are
の
you talking about?
ちゃんと書かれてい
It's
る
just
わ
a normal book.
何度も読んでいるの
I've read it many
私は
times.
そんなこと言ったってほら
Look. I opened the page and shoved it right in front of her face.
どこからどう見ても
It's
真っ
totally
白だよ
blank.
ちっとも白
It's
紙な
not
んかじゃ
blank
ない
at
わ
all.
いや白
No,
紙だって
it is.
ここに字が書
There
い
are
てある
words right here.
見えな
Can
い
you
の
see them,
匠
Takumi? Was she just screwing with me? Was she serious? Or was she just an absolutely crazy girl?
君には
So
見え
you
ないの
can't see
ね
the text, can you?
侵食
It's
されてい
because
る
you're
から
being
わ
corrupted by the king of
写真を。
wicked hearts. Nyase looked totally serious. She didn't seem to be joking at all. In fact, I didn't think I'd ever seen her tell a joke. I looked at the book again, but it was all blank.
僕
It
には
just looks
白紙に
blank
しか
to
見えな
me.
いよ
I see.
そう
She seemed slightly disappointed as she took the book from me. Our fingers touched for just a moment, and my heart skipped a beat. Her fingers were cold. Buddy, focus.
考えたことがあ
Have you
る
ever thought about it?
え
Huh?
何
Thought
が
about what?
世界は
The fact that
人に
every
よって
person sees the world in
見
a
える
different
形
way.
が違うということその差異を
You'll
確
never
かめる
know
こ
just
とは
how
で
big
きないわ
that difference is.
概念や
Is it
認識
possible
を
to
他
make your
人
own
と完璧
understanding
に
of a
一致させる
concept
ことは
identical to
不
someone
可能だか
else's?
らでもこれだけははっ
There's
きり
one
してい
thing
る
I'm sure of.
君が見ているも
What
の
you're
と
seeing, what I'm
私が
seeing,
見ているもの
the difference is due to our
その
wicked
違いは
hearts.
邪神による影響よ邪神の集
Gladio,
合
the
体
king
が
of wicked
邪
hearts,
神を
is a
グラジオ
collective
ル
formed of all of them,
目覚めようとし
and
て
he's about to awaken
もうす
very soon.
ぐもしも目覚めたら
And if he does,
きっとこの世に
then
67億あ
6.7
る世
billion
界は
individual
邪
worlds on
神を
this
生む
planet
混
will
沌によっ
fuse
て混じり
melt together in the
溶け合う
chaos he
ことになるわ
creates.
境界が
All
消え
boundaries will disappear,
邪神により
and a
連
world
結され
created
た
of
世
the
界に
linked
なるの
hearts will
よ
be born.
あら
All
ゆる
things
も
will
の
be
が規
born
則
without
性が
any
なく
laws
生ま
to
れ
bind their creation,
あらゆるもの
and all
が
things will
一
die in
瞬
a
で死
single
ぬ
instant.
概念も
Concepts,
認識も
awareness,
因果
causality,
律も
all will be
すべて
destroyed.
破壊されるすべてあ
A
るが
world
ゆえ
with
に
everything,
何も
thus
ない世
a
界
world with nothing.
あらゆる神話
Just
と
like
同
all
じように
myths,
予言
it
さ
has
れて
been
いるわ
prophesied.
終
The
末よ
prophecy of the end times,
滅びの
the
歌
psalm of destruction. Was that really true? What was the meaning of the blank paperback book? Just what were the apocalyptic psalms of the Book of Gladiel?
このままでは
And
滅
destruction
びの結
is
末に至
coming.
るだけ。今、
The only ones
止め
who
られ
can
るのは
stop it are you and
私
me,
と君。
the two of us,
二人しか
and
い
no
ない
one
の。
else.
どうして
Why
僕
the
ら二人
two
な
of
の？
us?
導きよ。
Guidance.
他の黒騎
The
士
other
は
Black Knights
す
were
でに邪
tainted
神
by
王
the
に
Night
侵
King
食
of
されて
Wicked
しまった。
Hearts. The other Black Knights. Yase had been covered in blood just a moment ago. Blood she said belonged to another Black Knight. Had she killed him somewhere in the hospital? Then where were the bodies? Yase walked past me, put her hand on the door.
どこ行くの？
Where are you going?
おしっこよ。
To pee. She answered emotionlessly. I left without waiting for my answer.
Huh?
Alright. I looked around to see if there were any other books from the Gladiel series around, but there weren't. I didn't know how many volumes there were, but the one I had picked up a moment ago was book 17. Books 1 through 16 were nowhere in the room. Obviously, it was possible that she just hadn't brought them with her. But after seeing the blank pages of the book, I found the idea hard to believe. I left the room before Ayase came back. There were several computers in the lobby with internet access. I've been to this hospital a few times, so I knew about them. Visiting hours were evidently over, and the lobby was empty. It was so crowded during the day, but now it was almost eerily quiet, and kind of unnerving. I hurried over to the computers before one of the nurses could find me and kick me out. I'm pretty smart. From all my anime, manga, and video games, I know a lot about myths from around the world. But I never heard of the apocalyptic psalms of the Book of Gladiel. I've only found out about them when I've been researching Ayase. I decided to search the internet for them. Fair. There was a pretty good sized number of hits. I was surprised at how many. Felt a little frustrated. Like, maybe it was big and I just hadn't known about it. But when I went down the list of hits, I saw they all had one thing in common. They were all about Phantasm or FES. The apocalyptic psalms were always introduced as something FES talked about, or something the band had come up with. The name was there, but nothing else. I couldn't find anything on the actual contents of the book. Gladiel Saga. There was a wiki entry, but only had a few lines of basic information. A fictional novel based on Eastern European legends of Gladiel, the King of Wicked Hearts. A 23-volume high fantasy series that depicts the war between 7 Black Knights and Gladiel, written by R.C.O. Ziegler. Published between 1929 and 1951, and translated into several languages, but often commercially unsuccessful due to its complex writing style. That was all. No, other mythology pages were all really fleshed out. This one felt way too empty. It was a little better than the wiki article I'd seen on the D-Sword, but not by much. Since anybody could edit a wiki, it wasn't even clear if what it said was true or not. And the image on the D-Sword page had been totally wrong for one thing. An idea had been going around and around in my head for a while now. Maybe the apocalyptic psalms of the Book of Gladiel were just a project of Ayase's delusion. Was she trying to make her own mythos, like Lovecraft did? Lovecraft had, for lack of a better word, turned his delusions into stories, which he spread by publishing them. Not if Ayase was trying to do the same thing with her songs. Put that way, it sounded like a really cool thing to do, but all she was actually doing was sharing her crazy nonsense with the rest of the world. And to make matters even worse, she thought it was real, not fiction. Was everything she told me a delusion? Maybe this whole end-of-the-world thing was just some hidden desire of hers. A lot of otaku could be like that. I'm the key to this world's destruction, you know, goofy stuff like that.
Ah,
No.
それは
Well,
僕
that
もだっ
goes through
た。
me too. Points for self-awareness, and that's all you got right now. What kind of ending did she want her myth to have? And was it safe for me to believe in her?
信じるも何も
I guess it didn't
あや
matter.
つしかいな
She
い
was
じ
the
ゃな
only
い
one
か。
I've got. Yumi was gone. Senna was a little scary. And Kozupi wasn't somebody you could count on to do anything. So crazy or not, delusional or not, I have no choice but to rely on her. Also, she had a D-sword. Whatever else was false, that was true. And delusions or not, she prophesied the new gen murders in her songs. Maybe it was possible that her delusions were having an effect on reality? If that was the case, though, that would mean she was incredibly powerful, and I'd be a fool not to use her. Fortunately, although, I had no idea why. She seemed to have taken a liking to me. As long as I didn't take anything she said too seriously, there'd be no problem. Yeah, no problem at all. I went back to her hospital room and... Cookie. I want a cookie. Pounding the steak. Pounding the steak. Tear through the darkness and bathe in the moonlight. 10,000 iron hammers bringing you pain now unleashed. This is pretty on the nose for the crucified murder, isn't it? Your screams dance in the air, staining the night sky red. Okay, but I'm not over the fact that she killed Nanami and Rimi. Like, I get that, like, it hasn't been super confirmed and denied, but, like, This tune is surprisingly cheery and pretty for its subjective matter. Is it cheery? I don't think it's really that cheery, but... Ayase was sitting on the bed, eating the meal the nurses had given her. No, was she eating? She was photosynthesizing. It looked like she was sitting there, bored, and humming while she poked her freeze-dried tofu with her chopsticks. Chopped sticks? Chopsticks. The song she was singing was a Phantasm one. Shocker. The one that was set to prophesize the third new gen case, Crucified. Yeah, caught on to that one. A bloody contract for your sins. I bought her album, so I knew it. Right now, she wasn't pounding an any steaks. She's pounding, well, stabbing, her freeze-dried tofu, though. Interesting. When she saw me, she smiled slightly, like she was relieved. I thought you weren't coming back. Where did you go? I was looking something up at the computers in the lobby. Stay here tonight. Stay with me. Wait, seriously? I was so shocked I took a step back. Since when did she like me that much? Don't flatter yourself. Are you hungry? You can eat this if you want. She picked up the tofu with her chopsticks and offered it to me. Are you saying that just because you don't want to eat it? That's right. She smiled, just a little. Hospital food isn't very good. I'm sure it
不
must
浄
be
な邪心に
tainted
染
by
ま
an
っているの
impure wicked heart.
きっと
Was it just me? Or was she badly overusing the phrase wicked heart? Maybe it was just her favorite phrase or something?
邪心に
If
染ま
it's
ってる
tainted
のに
with a
僕
wicked
は
heart,
食べ
is
て
it
もい
okay
い
for me to eat it?
普段から邪
You're
心ま
soaking
み
at
れで
wicked
しょ
hearts all the time
匠
anyway,
は
Takumi.
コンビニのお弁
Convenience
当や
store
カップ麺
lunches and
は
cup noodles are
不
our
浄なる
perfect
食べ物の
examples of
最たる
impure
例よ
foods.
黒騎士として
If
覚
you're
醒
going
す
to
るために
awaken
は
as a Black Knight,
摂取をや
you
める
should
べきだ
stop
わ
eating them.
綾瀬は
What do you
普段は
normally
何を食べ
eat?
てるの
チョコレート
Chocolate.
チョコレートって
If anything's
十分
tainted,
邪
it's
心に染まってそう
probably
な気がす
it'd
るけど
probably be chocolate. Wait, does that mean she'd only ever eat 8? I can't read. What? Wait, did this mean that she only ever ate chocolate? That's terrible. That's worse than me.
チョコレートはいいわ
Chocolate is good for you.
邪心を打
Its
ち払う
sweetness has
力
the
を持
power
つの
to drive away wicked
あの甘さ
hearts.
は
Yeah, bullshit. I might believe in a lot of weird stuff that was going on around me, but no way in hell was I going to believe that.
というわけで
So, there you have it, Takumi.
さ
Come on. So you continue to push the freeze-dried tofu in my direction. Did she really just not want to eat it that badly? I wasn't a big fan of freeze-dried tofu myself.
いらない
I'll pass.
それは許されない
Unacceptable.
わ
Why? This isn't fair. Having a girl offer you food like this was supposed to be every guy's dream. So why didn't it feel romantic at all? Because it's not romantic at all. Because Ayase just wanted me to eat the food she didn't want to eat? Or was it because Ayase was 3D? She didn't seem likely to give up on having me eat the tofu, so I put it in my mouth. I bit into it, and taste of the broth. It had been soaked in I bit into it, and the taste of the broth, it had been soaked and spread through my mouth. There we go.
よく頑張ったわ
Excellent.
これで一歩
You've taken one step
黒騎士
closer
に
to
近づい
becoming
たわ
a
よ
Black Knight,
匠
Takumi. Not a chance.
次は
Now the next
この
step is for you to
きんぴら
eat
ごぼう
this
を
braised burdock root. Please, make her stop. After our meal, Yase had begun a long lecture on the apocalyptic psalms, seemingly oblivious to the fact that the sun had set. She was so into it she forgot to turn on the lights in the room after it got dark. What she said, unfortunately, was just a slightly more detailed version of what she told me before. Most of it I already knew. Yase's voice was always so flat, it made you really sleepy. With Shogun out there, it was dangerous to fall asleep, but still.
というわ
And
けな
that's
の
the
よ
story.
理解で
Do
き
you
た
understand?
あ
Oh,
うん
yeah. I hadn't been listening at all, but I nodded anyway. Yase's eyes narrowed and she drew closer to me.
聞いてなかった
You
の
weren't
ね
listening, were you?
No.
Could Yase get mad sometimes too? She didn't look like she was the emotional type. If I made her mad, maybe I should apologize.
それも
And that's because you're
邪心に
tainted
染まっ
with
て
the
いる
wicked
せいよ
heart. More crap about wicked hearts.
先に取り除
It
か
looks
な
like
くて
we'll
はな
have
らない
to
ようね
remove it first.
君の侵食した邪心をでなければ
Otherwise,
純
you won't
粋
be
なる
able to
邪心
grow
は
a
培
pure
養
wicked
されな
heart.
い
取り除
Remove
く
it. I also, girl, do you just play too much Kingdom Hearts? Like, damn. What was she going to do to me? I shivered, imagining some kind of surgery. But that didn't seem to be what she meant, for some reason. She licked her lips seductively. Hello? I got a quick glance at her pink tongue. It looked incredibly sexy. Hello?
君の邪心
I'll
を
do
取り除
anything
くた
it
めなら
takes to get rid of your
何で
wicked
もす
heart.
るわ。望みがあ
Well,
っ
there's
たら
something
言
you
っ
want me
て。
to do. Just say it. Anything. I don't know what it meant to remove a wicked heart, but... how about this?
キスでもしてもらおうか。
Even with the darkness, I could see her frown. Ugh, maybe I got a little overboard. I thought that maybe she started to hate me and abandon me, so I went to quickly apologize. But she grabbed me by the collar before I could. Then she dragged me into the closet. The closet? But what are you doing? Shh. Yes, she pressed her body up against mine. She closed the closet door, squeezing the both of us together inside. It was tiny. There wasn't room for 2 people inside. I was uptight against her body, with nowhere to move. And I could hear her quiet breathing in my ear, too. The darkness made me feel terribly excited. What is it?
看護師の
The
見回
nurse
り
was making her rounds. Oh, so that's why we were hiding. Visitors weren't allowed up this time of night. Certainly not allowed to sleep here. If I was found, I'd be kicked out. But how is that supposed to work if Iyase hid with me? I was wondering that.
この病院にも
We have many
Teki
enemies
wa
here in
oi
this hospital.
Te-
Enemies?
グラジオリを
Servants
使
of
い
Gladio,
私たち
They
の
lurk in
心
the
を支配
shadows,
しようと
waiting for a
虎
chance
視
to
眈
control
々と
our
狙ってい
hearts.
るのよ。
Was she saying the nurse was an enemy? I mean, the nurse is an enemy, but, you know...
それって
Are
た
you
だの
sure
被
you're
害
not just
妄想。
being paranoid?
静かに
Yes, I suddenly put her lips over mine. Oh, okay. That's a pretty, that's a large amount of light in the closet. Anyways. Can't deal with those sounds in my ears. Stop. And give you all the softness of her lips. The shock made my mind go completely blank. The light is figurative? I'm not sure about that. And just then, the door opened. I heard a strange sound too. Somebody came in, making no noise as they walked.
いないわ。
She's not here. I heard a woman's voice. It was one I'd heard somewhere before, but I couldn't remember where.
逃げられたのか
Did
し
she
ら。
run away?
まさか。
She can't have
私たちの
realized
正体
who
に
we
気づ
are,
かれた。
can she? Hello?
ええ。
Yes.
不用
Perhaps
意
I
に
was too
接触し
careless
す
in
ぎたのか
making
もしれない。
contact with her. She seemed to be talking to somebody, but I couldn't hear who. Was she talking on a phone then? Yase's lips were still pressed against mine. He smelled something sweet. Yase smelled so good. And it wasn't just her lips, her chest, her shoulders, her hips, her thighs, her hair. They were all so soft. There might be someone dangerous just beyond the closet door, but my mind was going totally blank as I gave myself over to the pleasure.
そっちの処理は
Is
済んだ。
everything finished on your end?
そう。
I see.
これか
So
ら
it's
な
just
の。
about to begin then.
わかったわ。
Understood.
私は
I'm
スク
heading
ラ
to
ンブル
Scramble
交差点に向
Crossing.
かうから。
Ah,
それじゃあね。
goodbye. We were originally gonna have a joke about how our nurse was the enemy, but the nurse making rounds wasn't necessarily the nurse, but... I mean, who else would it be? There would be no point in mentioning the nurse if it wasn't Grim.
守る。
Naoru,
あなた
may
の
the divine
信
light
仰の
save
救
you.
いあれ。
The conversation seemed to have ended. A moment later, the suspicious woman wordlessly left the hospital room. There was no sign of anybody outside the room. It should be safe to go home now. But Iyase still wouldn't let me go. She moved her lips away for just a moment as she looked at me with dewy eyes.
匠、
Takumi,
私は導きで、
I am the guide.
君が
You are the
救世
savior.
主。そう決まっ
And
て
this
いる。
has fate decided.
だから
So,
何をして
you
もい
can
い
do
のよ
whatever you want
私
to
に
me.
叶えてあげる
I'll
わ
grant your wish,
君の
no matter what
ど
it
んな
might
望
be.
みでも
I didn't understand what she was saying. I thought it might be another one of my delusions, but I didn't really mind.
匠
Takumi.
匠
Takumi. Yes, they kissed me again, and this time, she brought her wet tongue between my teeth and into my mouth, and wrapped itself around my own. I stopped caring about everything. I wrapped my hands around Ayase's lithe, slender body. I gave myself over to the pleasure. No, stop. I heard her to breathe a little. I sucked up her hot breath. Stop. Her saliva came pouring into my mouth. It was very sweet. I gulped it down, loudly. My brain felt paralyzed, like it was going numb. The pleasures of the 3D world were beyond what I could handle. Well, that was a sound. I heard a sound in the distance. Yes, I gasped and moved herself away from me.
今の音は
What was that sound? I don't know. Where are the D swords? Her lips were wet with the mix of our saliva. Even in the darkness, I could see that much. Forget the sound. Let's go back to kissing, and hopefully more. Yahoo! My virgin Yahoo! My virgin days are finally over. Kitakore or something like that. Shut up, dude. But wait a second. Had Ayase done something like this with other guys? Wouldn't it be disgusting if she wasn't a virgin? Buddy, shut, okay. Yeah, H games have rotted your brain. Good job, buddy. No, she has to be a virgin. No, she does not. Nobody would possibly want to date somebody this crazy. You don't have to date to fuck. Hell, even Misumi had practically run away screaming. Misumi ran away screaming because she was covered in blood. You know, fight, flight, or freeze. You froze, he flew. Like,
ヘラヘラしていない
stop
で
grinning like that,
Takumi.
Takumi.
さあせん
Sorry. What a loser. Good. Thank God. Suddenly, she slapped me. The giddiness I was feeling faded instantly. Thank goodness. I started to get a little nervous. I thought I was going to cry, actually. Yase was looking at me sternly. I grabbed onto her.
ごめ
I'm
ん
sorry.
嫌わない
Don't
で
hate me.
邪神に支配
Don't
さ
let
れ
your
るので
wicked
はな
heart
く
control you.
邪神を
You
己に
need to
取り込む
control
の
it.
でなければ
Otherwise,
黒騎士
you'll
として
never
目覚め
awaken
るこ
as
と
a
はで
Black
きない
Knight.
それを忘れない
Don't
で
forget that. Okay. It still wasn't clear what a wicked heart was, but the reason I was so giddy was that Ayase had kissed me, at least as I saw it. I didn't think it was a good idea to point that out, though. Where are the D swords?
行くわよ
Let's go.
どこへ
Where?
銃声だったわ
That sound was a
さっきの音
gunshot. A gunshot? A gunshot here? In Japan? Sure, it kinda sounded like one, but I'd only ever heard gunshots in games and movies. It didn't feel real.
銃声だ
If
っ
it
た
was
と
a
して
gunshot,
何
then
を
why are
しに
we
行くの
going towards it?
これもまた
This is in the
予言にあったわ
prophecy, too.
すでに邪
And the
神王
battle
との
with the
戦
king
いは
of wicked
始まって
hearts
いる
is
のよ
beginning.
黒騎士の
And the
心が
minds of the
殺さ
Black
れてい
Knights are
く
being destroyed.
だから回収す
So
る
we're
の
going to recover it.
理想度
The D sword.
私たちにできるのは
That's
そ
all
れ
we
だけ
can do. The Black Knights were being killed? Did the gunshot mean somebody had been shot?
警察
The
に
police?
ダメよ
No.
警察
The
も
police
邪
are
神に
ruled
支
by
配さ
wicked
れてしまっ
hearts
てい
too.
る
Crazy. No, crazy didn't even begin to cover it. Yase was way beyond just crazy. The apocalyptic psalms were her delusion. Everything she was saying was part of her delusion. What kind of ending did she want her story to have? What was I supposed to do?
ついてきて
Follow me,
匠
Takumi. Yase left the room, alone. I hesitated to follow her. Where are the D swords? Suddenly, I realized. The 3 D swords near the window still had vanished. Finally. Yase must have taken them. When? I bit my lip, and after another moment's hesitation, I followed her. Yase headed straight toward the roof, almost as if she knew exactly where the gunshot had come from. The roof of the hospital was a small garden. There were planters with blooming flowers, but it was too dark to see what color they were. I hid behind Yase and looked around. I couldn't see anyone here. Nothing was moving. Had this really been where the gunshot had come from? And if so, who was the shooter? Normal Japanese people don't have guns.
やっぱり
Let's
戻ろう
go
よ。
back.
もし撃た
I
れた
don't
らま
want
ず
to
いよ。
get shot. Yase wasn't listening to me. Of course not. She walked deeper into the garden. I had no choice but to follow. I could see a blurry blue light in front of us. It was very pale, as if it was about to disappear, but it was shining and flashing.
理想度だ
A
わ。
D-sword. Yep, that's a D-sword, alright. It was elegant, but at the same time, had a sharpness to it that seemed to reject the entire world around it. It felt bizarre, like it wasn't of this world. Next to the D-sword stabbed into the concrete, I could see two people lying on the ground. I recognized them both.
ユア
Yua. The girl dressed in a Suime uniform lying face up was definitely Yua. What was she doing here? The other was a middle-aged man. I remembered him. He was the one who questioned me after the crucified case. Both of them weren't moving. I approached them tremblingly. There was a pool of blood forming under both of them. I quickly left back, but it was too late. Sticky crimson liquid had soaked into the bottom of my shoes. The detective's body was so particularly bloody. I didn't see any injuries on Yua's body. What had happened here? What were the two of them doing together? I could understand why a detective would have a gun, but who had shot this guy? Was it Yua? Hello, Sophie. Welcome on in. How's it going? Congratulations on getting Navia in Genshin, by the way. So many doubts were filling my head that I had trouble processing what I was seeing. Completely bewildered, I turned to Yase for help. Yase walked toward Yua, a frown on her face. She paid no attention at all to the detective. She knelt down next to Yua, being careful not to step on the blood, putting a finger up against her neck. Sophie. I'm glad you're happy, though.
脈はある。
She's breathing.
まだ生きているわ。
She's alive. First, Shigoji decided to see how rare gun violence was in Japan back in 2008, and there was a grand total of 60 gun deaths that year. The numbers have only since gone down. In 2018, the most recent year is the source he found, there were only 9. I mean, to be honest, 60 gun deaths in 2008 was a lot higher than I was expecting, so... But that's cool. It's like gun restrictions work or something. I don't know. What was the number of gun violence in the States in 2008? I'm just curious, while you're looking it up anyway. But
死んでいる。
her mind is
心
dead.
は。そっちの男
As
の
for
人
him,
はもうダ
looks
メな
like
よう
it's
ね。
too late. Her voice was calm, as always.
で
How can you
そんな
be
落
so
ち着いていら
calm?
れるんだ。
The people are
人が
dead.
死んでるんだぞ。
I mean, Takumi, people die when they're killed.
言ったでしょ。
I told you.
予言されてい
This
た
is
からよ。
prophesized. What do you mean prophesized?
綾瀬が
Are
望
you
んだ
sure
妄
it's
想
not
じゃ
the
ないの。
delusion you wanted? It might be.
そうかもしれないわね。
There's no
そ
way
れを
to
確
tell,
かめる術
though.
はないけれど。
31,593 in 2008. Cool. Yeah. That's nice. Anyways.
そんな
That's horrible.
構わないわ。
It doesn't
原
matter
因が何だ
what
ろ
the
うと。
cause is. I mean, Yase stood up. And pulled her own D-sword out of the empty air. She brought the shining red blade near the D-sword stuck into the ground. There was an awful resonating noise, at a piercing, high frequency, like somebody was stabbing a pig into my ear and jerking it around. Then, the two D-swords blended together. The way they melted together ignored all laws of physics. It was like a liquid, but also like clay. And it kept changing shape violently, like they were thrashing in pain. The resonating noise got louder. I put my hands over my ears, but it did nothing. Upgrade! The air exploded. The next thing I knew, the D-sword had moved from the ground to Yase's left hand. Yase didn't look so good. For once, her expression looked like she was in pain. But then she smiled at me. Her cheeks were a little flushed, like something had excited her. And this is the fourth sword. There's a dead body right in front of us. The person who shot the detective might be lurking up here. Why was the sword more important than any of that? Because it was needed for the ending Ayase wanted? Defeating Gladiel with the 7 D-swords? Was Gladiel even real? Every Giglio-maniac has been broken once in the past. I remembered what Senna said. Yase was as broken as the rest of them. Did that mean I was gonna end up the same way someday? Oh buddy, you're already there. No, not someday. I'd already broken a long time ago. Yep. Yase made the D-swords vanish. They disappeared, melting into the air. Are we going to call the cops? Neo was my enemy. Leaving her here with this dead guy wouldn't make me feel guilty in the slightest. But I stepped in the blood. I looked down and saw that my footprints were clearly visible in the concrete. The police might easily think I was the killer. He won't. That was a relief, at least. Yase looked up at the night sky. Her expression was still stern. I think it's about time. Time? Time for what? Gladiel will soon awaken, according to the Ziegler's prophecy. That is. Be ready, Takumi. The world will be enveloped by disaster. You're going to see a world you've never seen before. But you must stand fast, or you won't be able to defeat Gladiel. Her voice was shaking. Yase, the girl who wasn't afraid of anything, was scared. Was something that terrible about to happen? Or was she envisioning it in her mind and trying to make it real? I'm not ready. Then get ready. There's not much time left. Come on, don't say that. How am I supposed to get ready when I don't even know what's going to happen? The worlds are about to melt and link together as one. She whispered to no one in particular, looking up at the sky. I looked up, too. And saw that a point in the sky had turned white. It was a brilliant white, out of place in the darkness of night. What was that? Then I remembered. How did the sky turn white like that during the last earthquake? The white began to spread. I couldn't tell what, but something about it made me feel very afraid. I gulped. Gladiel has awakened. Trembling. The building was shaking. No, it wasn't just the building. Everything was shaking. The white in the sky was spreading further and further. The next thing that hit me was the terrible ringing in my ears, like the resonating sound from the D-swords a moment ago. Felt like my head was about to explode from within. And then... the whole world turned white. Was this a dream? The sky was red. It had been white a moment ago. But now the whole world was a rusted red. This must be a dream. A delusion like all the other ones. That's why I decided to tell myself. I could see black puffs of mist here and there. I felt like they were shaped like humans. It had to be a hallucination, but it looked bizarrely real. They were shimmering, slowly, in irregular patterns. One would disappear, only to appear a moment later somewhere else. There were many of them. Just looking at them made me feel upset somehow. Something smelled terrible. I felt like I was going to throw up. I didn't want to be here for a second longer than I had to. I had a strong, overwhelming desire to get out. When I woke up, the sky was bright, and Shibuya was a city of death. NoAH General Hospital hadn't collapsed, luckily, but there were huge cracks in the walls, and the inside was a mess. The lobbies of the outpatient wing were filled with the wounded, some who had been brought here by ambulance, and some who walked here on their own. They were all demanding to be the first to see the doctor. Oh boy. When I woke up, Ayase smiled and told me we were going back to Shibuya. I asked her what time it was, and she said around 6 in the morning. I would have been unconscious for 10 hours or so then. I couldn't see Yua anywhere. I asked Ayase, but she said she didn't know. The train ride from Yoyogi to Shibuya takes less than 5 minutes. But the aftershocks from the quake had shut the trains down entirely. The tracks were an absolute mess. They wouldn't be coming back online today. We were forced to walk, but the streets were cracked and caved in, and blocked entirely with rubble from fallen buildings. A straight path was impossible. It took us almost 3 hours to get to Shibuya Station. The area around the station was a mess. Most of the buildings had fallen. The number of bodies was unbelievable, and the way they died was too horrible to look at. Some people were still moving. Some people were walking with the looks of shock on their face, like us. Others were crouched next to the rubble and waiting for help. Some of them were clinging to the dead and crying. None of them living had the energy left to even look at them. The shock had drained all the energy from their bodies. The strong smell of blood, the smell of dust, and the foul smell of something rotting filled the air. What was this Gladiel's doing? Maybe Gladiel was an earthquake? In America, they give human names to hurricanes, like Andrew or Katrina. Was this the ending that Yase had wanted? Maybe it was the perfect ending for an apocalyptic fantasy. But even if Ayase was a gigglemaniac, or what she called a Black Knight, could she really cause this huge earthquake all on her own? She talked about worlds melting and linking. What did that mean? I took a quick look at her. She was a few steps in front of me. This was enough to rattle even her, from the look of it. She bit her lip as if it would help her endure the pain, and walked on silently. Hey everyone! It's dangerous here! Let's get to a shelter! No shit, it's dangerous here. The speaker was a middle-aged man in a suit. A good number of people were still alive, including us. He seemed to be speaking to the survivors. We'll be here all day if we wait for a rescue. But if we can get to the shelters, we'll be fine. It'll be a lot better than staying here. I know it's hard, but stand up and let's go. We have a duty to live on, for the sake of the ones who died here. The guy had a lot of energy, I thought. Several of the people around him must have agreed with him, though, as they began to slowly walk toward him. Most, however, didn't. He also ignored him. She seemed to be heading somewhere. I had no choice but to go with her. I felt a stabbing pain in my temples. The same pain had hit me several times on the way here from Yoyogi. Please, everyone, stand up! Why can't you understand that this place is dangerous? What if you get crushed by rubble? I want all of you to survive. My head hurts. Oh my. What's going on? The sky suddenly turned red. I looked up and saw reddish bronze clouds in the sky. That's what I'd seen in my dream. Asphalt road, the concrete rubble, the buildings, the glass on the ground, lampposts broken at their bases. They're all covered in rust. Hello? I heard an insane laugh. It was the man who'd been trying to get everyone to evacuate. There was what looked like a black mist wrapped around his body. No, it wasn't just him. Everyone here except the dead had that same mist coming out of their bodies. The mist was the same size as a person. It was slowly wavering. It seemed curiously alive, and something about it just made me feel sick. This was the same as my dream, too. I hate when sneeze. The man's laugh was pissing me off. I turned over to him, and for some reason, there was an assault rifle in his hands. Oh boy. There are no cops here now. I can kill anybody I want. Oh boy. He suddenly started firing the gun. I dropped down. I'd been shot. At least, I thought I had been. I was right in front of him when he'd been firing. But I didn't feel any pain. I looked up, terrified. There's water, food, and blankets at the shelter. There's no point in staying here. He didn't have a gun. He was yelling to the people around him. Come on. Find the strength to live. You don't want to die here. The change was instant. The man had been shouting with his fist in the air. There was a burst of static and suddenly he was holding a gun. That wasn't how human beings worked. There was a gap between one movement and another. It didn't feel real at all. It was like watching two separate videos that had been badly spliced together. He fired his gun again. The people around me were falling over, blood spurting from bullet wounds. There were screams all over the square. But for some reason, none of the bullets touched me. I felt like I was watching a movie. It didn't feel real. Takumi. Manayase said my name. Everything went back to normal. She was staring at me. She looked like she wanted to say something, but instead, she just turned her back to me and started walking. I looked up at the sky. It was cloudy, but it wasn't red. A dull gray light lit up everything around me. It wasn't rusty red. The man with the gun was still calling for people to go to the shelters. The people he shot were unharmed. I couldn't see any black mist anywhere. What did I just see? Another delusion? The same as always? If so, my imagination sure as hell wasn't what it used to be. Delusion just now didn't feel real at all. It was like a movie or a video game. Takumi. Hurry up. Yase motioned me onward. Where was she going? Was she headed to a shelter, like the man had been saying? As it turned out, she wasn't. For some reason, she headed into the Enokashira line station. And the staff were there, and the trains weren't moving. She got down onto the tracks and started to walk alongside them. The tunnel was dark and poorly lit. This is a place where most people would never be allowed in their entire lives. It hadn't collapsed yet, but there was no telling when it would. Yesterday, I never would have imagined being able to do something like this. An adventure alongside the train tracks would make for a great movie. Wait, wasn't there already a movie like that? It was from before I was born, so of course I'd never seen it. All I knew was that it was about walking along train tracks in search of a dead body. Actually, I guess the subway tunnel wasn't a very good movie set. Not much to see. The tunnel would have taken us to Shinsen, then Komabada Tomadai Mae. Let's try that again. Komaba Todai Mae. There we go. Then after that, Ikanoe and Shimiko... That's a long one. Shimokitazawa. If you wanted a way to get out of Shibuya, following the train tracks like this would be a good way to do it. But we walked all the way back here from Yoyogi, which was a good distance away from Shibuya's center. It was safe to assume that whatever Ayase was doing, she wasn't trying to escape Shibuya. Where are you going? Shinsen Station. What would she want to do there? Was she planning on heading to school? Or maybe she wanted to go to the base, but Ayase didn't know where I lived. I suddenly wondered if Seiratan was safe. What would I do if the Kurenai building had collapsed in the earthquake and my wives were buried in rubble? I had more important things to worry about now, though. I could see a light up ahead. There's a railway crossing out past the tunnel where you could see the sky. Past it, the tracks enter the building again, and that's where the platforms were. The lights on the platform were out because of the earthquake. It was dark inside. It was almost entirely empty. I could only see two people sitting on the platform. In their clothes, they were both female students from Suime. Yase walked straight toward them. Did she know them? Maybe. As I got closer, I could see them clearly even in the darkness. My eyes narrowed. Hadn't I seen them before? I quickly realized who they were. It was Sana and Kozupi. But something was wrong. They must have heard my footsteps, but they didn't move to look up. They were just sitting there, unmoving. Sana. Kozupi! I called out their names, and they didn't move. What was going on? The minds of the Black Knights are being destroyed. So, I'm going to recover them. The D-swords. No way, that's impossible. I ran over to them. Oop. I looked into Sena's slumped forward face. Sena's eyes were lifeless. There was no light in them at all. The bright light in her eyes, so when she'd glare at you, was nowhere to be seen. She was whispering something in a voice so soft, I could barely hear it, but I couldn't make out what she was saying. Kozupi was the same. There's no light in her eyes. Drool was falling from her lips, and she was emitting a soft, wordless moan. What had happened to the two of them? What was going on in Shibuya? I looked over to Ayase, hoping she could answer my questions, but she didn't seem to care about them at all. Her eyes were on their D-swords, which were lying on the ground next to them. She brought her own D-sword close to them. I heard the awful resonance sound again. The 3 D-swords changed shape. It was a shockwave like a blast of wind. And it was gone. Sana and Kozupi's D-swords were in Yase's hands. Now we have 6. Yase's cheeks were red, like she was excited. She was staring at me.
匠、あと
Takumi.
は君
Now
が
you're
手
the
に
only
入れる
one
だけよ。
left. I'm sorry. What isn't going on Shibuya? More like happy fun things for one. So true. So true. How could she be so calm? I started to snap at her, but just then, the stabbing pain in my head came back. The world turned red. Everything rusted and rotted. A terrible smell was coming from Kozuki. She slowly stood up. Her entire body was red. Was it blood? Was it rust?
殺してやる。
I'll kill you. She looked up. The black mist was covering her face. I could feel her intense desire to murder me. Her thin arms reached out, as if to strangle me. I blinked, and Kozuki was sitting on the ground again. I couldn't see her face because she was slumped forward.
殺してやる。
I'll kill you. Static. And Kozuki was right beside me. The black mist touched my shoulder. It was so cold. I shivered.
みんな殺してやる。
I'll kill you. All.
匠ちゃんも
Takumi.
鏡
I'll
で
rip you
二つだ
apart with the mirror. Her voice was emotionless, machine-like, and so it made it scarier than usual. I blinked. Senna's body was being ripped apart. Kozuki was bringing down a shard of broken glass on Senna's head. Dark red blood stained Senna's pretty black hair. Kozuki raised the glass again, and stabbed. Static. Now Kozuki was unmoving, but Senna had come to life. Senna was crouched on top of a prone, homeless man who hadn't been there a minute ago. Her head was pressed up against his shoulder. He was moving up and down, twitching. What was she doing? Her hair was covering her face, and I couldn't see. Suddenly, Senna raised up her head. The man's shoulder was covered in blood. I could see the raw, exposed meat, the pink glistening muscle. No, it was that blood. Muscle. Rust.
母
Patty.
おいしい
You're yummy. Senna turned around. Her mouth was covered in blood. She was chewing something. I felt dizzy and fell forward. Then the world was back to normal. The headache was gone. I put a hand to my forehead and shook my head a little. It felt awful, like I was going to vomit. If you had a nickel game Saku played recently, reality is submerging and breaking, etc., etc. I mean, deal with it. There was no terrible shock or instant feeling of terror, but something like a poison was working its way through my body. A sick feeling that wouldn't go away. I looked up at Senna and Kozuki again. The two of them were sitting there, unmoving.
どうしたの
What's wrong? Yase offered me a hand. She looked like she wanted to say something again. I took her hand and stood up. We left Senna and Kozuki where they were. I wanted to help them, but didn't feel like I had the strength to do it. And Yase didn't seem to care. We headed back to Shibuya Station. We encountered several injured people on our way back. A whole bunch of dead bodies, too. Yase was looking up at the sky, tense. I resisted the urge to throw up and spoke to her.
綾瀬は
What kind of
どんな
ending
結末を
do
望む
you
の
want?
結末
Ending? Yu was missing. Senna and Kozuki had their minds destroyed. Yase had taken the D-swords from all the Giglio-maniacs. Well, stolen would be more accurate. And Ayase was the one who had set it up to happen too. Could I be sure it wasn't Ayase? Had she just been lucky enough to have every single Giglio-maniac with a D-sword conveniently have their minds destroyed just before she got there? Not a chance in hell. And if Ayase had set that up, the earthquake was her doing. Gladio was a myth that Ayase had created. Can you be sure that this earthquake
綾瀬の
was a
妄想じゃないって言い
delusion?
切れる
This is what you wanted, right?
望んでたんでしょ
そうね。
Yes.
なんでこんなこと
Why?
匠、
Takumi,
結
don't be
論
in
を
such
急
a
がな
hurry
い。
to reach a conclusion.
すでに予言
The
されてい
prophecy
たの。
has already been
スイ
written
ムラーにあっ
by
た。
Ziegler.
私はそれを知ってい
I
た。
know of it.
ただそれだけ。
That's all.
グ
The
ラディ
Gladial
オ
book is just her delusion.
そんな本
There's
どこにも存
no
在しな
such
いよ
book.
匠も見たはず
You
よ。
saw it in my room.
私の病室で。
あ
Yeah,
見たよ
I saw
で
it,
もあれは
but the
白紙だ
pages
った
were empty.
匠に見えて
You
いな
just
かっただ
couldn't see the
け。
words.
そんなの
That's bullshit. You're lying.
僕を
Are you
騙そう
trying
って
to
いうの
trick
か
me?
世界は、
There are 6.7 billion words.
つまり
One for
人
every
類の
human
全
being.
人口よ。異なっている
And
の。
every world is different.
それぞれの見ている世界は全く同一
None
であ
of
るこ
them
とは
were
ない。
identical.
匠と
It's
私
the
も
same
そ
for
う。
you and me.
それが
If
本当だ
that's
って言うなら
true, show me your
そう出
source.
してよどうせ
You
無理な
can't,
んでしょ
can you? Yase stared at me. Her eyes narrowed. It wasn't like she didn't know what to say. It was more like she was trying to keep her feelings from showing.
見たいの。
Do you want to see it?
私が見ている世
The
界。
world I see?
できるならいや
If you could show me, then show me!
たとえ見せられ
Even
て
if
も
you did, I
信
still
じない
wouldn't
だろうけ
believe
ど
it though.
違うわ。
No,
匠、
Takumi.
君は
You're already seeing it.
すでに見ている。私の世界
And I
と
wrote in
君
yours.
は少しずつ
They're starting to
同期し始め
synchronize.
ているのよ。
But
何を
what? The world turned to rust again. I could see a black mist hovering over the people on the ground. It is kind of nuts that the world has gained roughly 2 billion people in population since this game came out. Yeah. There was a child crushed under the rubble. His head was poking out. A man who looked like his father was trying to save him. Static. The father was stamping his foot onto the child's head. The boy's skull was split open like a watermelon. Blood and brains were everywhere. More static. The boy's head was unharmed. The father was shouting to him, "Hang in there, I'll get you out." Static. The boy wasn't under the rubble anymore. He was screaming at his father, "Get your ass moving, you old geezer!" and was stabbing him with a knife. A short distance away, a young man and woman were sitting on the ground. They were huddled together under a blanket. The static wrapped itself around them, and the man was raping the woman. The woman's screams echoed off the broken street. Her screams disappeared at another burst of static. The two of them were sitting there, silently. The middle-aged women were slowly moving down the street. They looked like sisters. A burst of static, and one was yanking another by the hair. She was pulling hard, dragging her down the street. Tufts of hair were being ripped out. More static, and everything was normal.
なんだよ
What
これ
is this?
私の世界
My
は
world. No wonder why you're crazy. This, it was her delusion, not mine? Or was it a delusion at all? Was it real? I could see the black mist around Yase's chest too. I looked away, trying to keep it out of my field of vision.
匠の見ていた空
And
は
what color was your
どんな
sky?
色をしていた。
どんな
It was blue,
青い
of course.
あんな色。
Like that. Yase pointed at the sky. It was red.
あれは
That's
尺
red
度色だ
bronze.
尺
Red
度。
bronze.
あの色は
That's not blue
青
then.
じゃないのね。
どこから
It's
どう見ても
definitely
青空
not
じゃないよ
blue.
常識的に考えて
Obviously.
でも
But to
私
me,
にとっては
that's blue.
あの色が青なの。
What are you talking about?
匠が説明で
Can
き
you
るの。
explain blue?
青色って
What kind of color is
どんな
blue?
色？
どんなっ
What
て
kind of color?
だから
It's the
空の
color of the sky.
あの色の空
It's
し
the
か
only
知らないの。
color I've ever seen the sky have.
みんな青が
Everybody
どんな色
knows
かぐらい
what blue
知
looks
ってるで
like.
しょ。
だから説明
Explain
して。
that
例
without
えを
using
使わずに
examples.
青が
What kind of color
ど
is
んな
blue?
色なのか。
Without using examples? I thought, but got nowhere. I couldn't come up with any way to explain the color blue. Yase looked sad when she saw my reaction.
世界は
There are
約
6.7
67
billion
億
worlds.
ある。
That's what I
そう
said,
言ったは
right?
ずよ。空の色も
The sky has 6.7
67 億
billion
通りある。
colors.
みんな
Not everyone
見ているも
necessarily
のが同
sees
じ
the
だ
same
とは
sky.
限らないわ。
Everything turned back to normal. This color was my sky.
綾瀬は
You spent your whole
ずっとあん
life
な世界を
seeing
見
that
てきた。
world. She gave me a soft nod.
生まれた時からず
Ever
っ
since I was born,
とそれが
I thought it
当
was
たり前の
normal.
ことだと思っていたわ。
Just how the world
世界
was.
でも違うのね。
Well, that's not true, is
今
it?
匠の
After hearing
話を
what
聞
you
いて
said, I
理解
finally
できたわ。
understand.
あの黒いも
What
や
is
は
that
何なの。
black mist?
写真
The wicked hearts.
誰でも持っている
Every
もの
human
なら
has them.
人なら
These wicked hearts are what feed
そして
Gladia
この
and
写
give
真
him
が
shape.
グラジオールの糧となり形を見えた
Could you see them?
人々の不の
People's
妄
negative
想が
delusions? Was that what I was seeing when I saw the static? And then all those people were doing all those terrible things?
私は昔から
I've always seen
見
them.
てきた。黒騎士な
While
ら
the
ば
Black Knights
程
can
度の
see
差があ
them
って
to
も
a greater
みん
or
な見え
lesser
ているはず
degree.
よ。そこにあるのは
What you're seeing is
Mukidashi no
raw,
aku.
exposed evil,
むき出
raw,
しの欲望。
exposed desire. So Yose had been seeing that world since the day she was born?
匠、
Takumi.
私が望む結
The
末
ending I
は
want
この錆びついた
is
世
for
界
my
か
soul
ら
to escape from this
魂ごと
rusted
抜け出す
world.
こと。そのために
For
は
that to happen,
グラジオールを倒
I
さな
must
ければ
defeat
ならないの。
Gladia. Yase walked over to me.
だから
So,
見つけて、
find
あとは匠だけ
it. You're
だ
the
の。
only one left.
理想像
Find your T
見
sword.
つけて。
I can't! I grabbed Ayase's shoulder and pushed her away. Ayase's eyes went wide, like she was shocked by what I'd done.
なぜ
Why?
諦
Are
め
you
るの？
giving up?
僕は
I'm not the
綾瀬が思う
special
ほど
person you
す
think
ご
I
い人
am.
間じゃない。どれだけの呼んで
No matter how hard I
理想
try,
とか
I don't
手
get
に入
anywhere.
る兆候すらないじゃないか。オーフロン
Even
ト
at
の
the
時
whole
も
front
そうだっ
building,
たし、
I couldn't get it.
地震が
Not
起きてか
even
らも
after
そう
the
だ。
earthquake.
方法がわ
I
からな
don't
いん
know
だ。
how to do it.
理想
I'll
だなん
never
て
get the D sword.
手に入れられないよ。自信がないよ。
I just can't.
それなら
And then why
なぜ
did you
私を
save
助けた
me?
の？
Yase approached me again, with a new forcefulness in her step. I backed away.
ちょ
To
助
save
けた
you?
って一体
What are you
何のことを
talking about?
私が学
When I
校の
jumped
屋上
off
か
the
ら
roof
飛び降
of
りた
the
時、
school,
君が
he created a
花壇
world
のあ
where
る
there
世
was a
界を生み
flower
出
bed
した。
below.
だから私
And
は
that's why I wasn't
一
able
つ上
to
のステー
move
ジ
my
に
soul
魂を
to
移
the
すこと
next
はできなかった
stage.
わ。
It was just luck. I didn't even mean to do it,
それでもいいと
but I
思っ
was
た。
fine with that
君の力を
because it showed me
知
your
ることが
power.
できたから。あの時から
Ever since then,
君が私の
you
希望
became
にな
my
ったか
hope.
ら。
Please don't have any hopes for me. Don't expect me to do anything. Takumi,
自
don't
分を非にし
underestimate
ない。
yourself.
それは邪
When you're
神王の
experiencing
精
this
神
psychic
侵略。
invasion from the king of
負け
wicked
てはいけ
hearts,
ないわ。
you can't let him defeat you.
君には力
You
が
have
あ
the
る。
power.
確
I
実
know
に
you do.
手に入れられ
You
る。
can find it.
必
You
ず
will find it.
理想だ。
Find your D sword.
無理
I can't.
無
I
理だよ
just can't. I thought I could stay with Ayase. I thought she was the only one who could protect me. And now after spending time with her, I understood. I couldn't stay with her after all. The world she saw was just too different from my own. To be perfectly blunt, she was too crazy for me. I'm a piece of shit, aren't I? But I am who I am.
なぜそんなこ
Why are
と
you
を言うの？
saying these things? She was clinging to me with tears in her eyes. The cool, unemotional girl like me was nowhere to be seen.
私は
I don't
こん
want
な
to be
世
in
界
this
にい
world.
たくない。
Please,
お願い、
release me.
解放して。私の
Be
希望に
my
なって。
hope.
黒騎士として
I awaken as a black knight.
無理だ
I
よ
can't.
無理じゃないわ。
You can. Yase's world synchronized with mine again. The black mist flowed out of her chest and wrapped around my body. It was like an anaconda, encircling its prey to squeeze and kill it. I could feel its awfulness up against my skin. It was Yase's raw, exposed desire. It wasn't. Nobody was used to seeing the exposed emotions of other human beings. Static.
君は私の希
You
望。
are my hope. Yase was staring at me. Her eyes were pitch black.
君を離さ
I
ない
won't
わ。
let you go.
つなぎ止め
I'll
る。
keep you with me,
どんな
no
手を
matter
使
what
っ
I
てで
have
も。
to do. Her fingers started unbuttoning my blazer buttons, one by one.
君が欲しい。
I want you. She pressed herself up against me, like she had done when she kissed me in the closet. I was frozen solid, and I couldn't move. All the buttons were undone, and she opened my shirt. She then began to loosen my belt and over the zipper of my pants. Oh boy.
君
I want you. Power.
欲しい。
Her cold hands ran across the skin on my chest. And then she dug her nails in. The pain was awful, but I still couldn't move.
欲しいの。
I want it. The fingers dug into my flesh, but between my bones. And gently grabbed my beating heart. I was shaking from fear, from pain, from the coldness of her hands.
あったかい。
So warm.
もらうわ。
You're taking this, alright? Stop. I could feel the blood vessels bursting. Blood poured out from my chest. She was taking it. She was taking my heart. Literally. The world suddenly changed color. Everything was dim and blurry again. The red bronze color was gone. My body was unharmed. I had my hand to my chest. I put my hand to my chest, rather, and I could feel my heartbeat. My heart was right there. She was standing in front of me. Her expression looked so sad, like she might cry again at any moment. Again, when she'd taken the D-sword from Yuan, when I'd first seen her world at Scramble Crossing, when she'd taken the D-sword from Senna and Kozupi, she always looked at me like she was trying not to cry. Takumi,
そんなつもりじゃ
you didn't mean to.
写真を
I'm losing
制御
control
できなくなって
of
い
my
る
own delicate heart.
私も取り込みすぎた
I
せい
may
かも
have
しれな
taken
い
too many D-swords
理想だ
inside myself.
邪神王の
The
精
psychic
神侵
invasion
食
of
で
the king of wicked
私は
hearts
お
is
かしくな
driving
りつ
me
つある。
crazy. Crazy? I was crazy once. Wasn't that all just part of your delusion? Everything you're telling me is a lie, isn't it? Words came to my mind, but I didn't say them. I couldn't say them. Yase was always so cold, so reserved. She never had any kind of expression on her face at all, but now she looked so sad. She was showing me how fragile she truly was.
僕は
What
どうす
do I
ればいい？
do? A very small tear ran from the corner of her eye. She was looking at me desperately.
私
I
は
was taking over.
支配されつつ
The
ある
king of wicked hearts.
邪神王の攻撃によってこのままじゃ
Before
自
long,
我を保てない。
I'll cease to be myself.
だから
So,
取り除いて
removing
私の中を
the
侵食
impure
する
wicked heart
不浄な
that's
る邪
inside
神
me.
を
取り除
How
くって
do I remove
どう
it?
やって？
私の世
You
界
saw
を
my
見た
world,
でしょ。
right?
あの
That
黒い
black
もや
mist
は
is an impure
人
wicked
が持つ不
heart.
浄なる邪神が具現化したもの。むき出しの
Exposed evil.
それを掴
Grab
んで
it
私の
and
体か
pull
ら
it out of
引き
my
抜いて
body. I can't. Just the thought of doing something so disgusting.
お願い
Please.
高見私は
I want
私でいたいの。私の世
to
界を
save me. My world.
救って
Then slowly, she dropped to the ground. She looked so frail. We'd promised. She told me this.
君を守る
I'll
わ。
protect you.
君
So,
も
I
私を
want you
守
to
って
protect me. Sana and Kozupi were broken beyond repair. Rumi was gone. I didn't want to lose Ayase too. That was part of it. More than anything. I wanted to save her. I knew there was no way I could. But even if Ayase was just crazy, I knew this was all just part of her delusion. I wanted to save her. The second I had that thought, mist covered the world. I could see the black mist coiled like a snake about to strike, one end coming out of her chest. Just looking at it made me feel terrible. I wanted to look away. But if I did, nothing would change. I had to try. But I couldn't. My heart felt like it was being crushed in my chest. The headache was getting worse. I can't do it. I can't. I'm not the kind of person who could save somebody else. I looked up when she called my name. She was offering me her hand, but I stared straight at me.
来て
Huh?
私を
To let me know.
好きにして
Complete trust. Or maybe just dependency. Nobody ever had relied on me like this before. My heart was starting to lose hope, but with the help of Ayase's voice, I managed to keep from giving up. I bit my lip. I took a step toward her. Her black snake stretched out to me like it had found new prey, and wrapped around my neck. It was so freezing cold that it actually felt hot. It wrapped around my neck with a gentle, almost pleasant force. Ayase fell toward me. All the strength had left her body. I had to support her from falling. Oh my.
匠
Okay. I put my hands around her thin waist.
本当に
You're really sure?
いいの？
Go
いい
ahead.
わ
I gulped loudly, and then I reached my hand out toward the black snake coming from her chest. In an instant, the mist took physical form. It became a black leech. The feeling of disgust got even worse. Yase's wicked heart, in its purest form, the ugliest parts of her, the one she didn't want to show anybody, that's what this was. I grabbed Alicia's body. It was slippery and cold. It was physically painful. I wanted to let go of it immediately, but I didn't. Yosei was moaning with a look on her face somewhere between ecstasy and pain. Take it out. I pulled as hard as I could. I could feel what felt like tearing flesh. Black liquid poured out from her heart. It got all over my hands and face. I couldn't tell if it was blood or something else. I ignored it and I kept pulling at the leech. No. Are you okay? I stopped. I couldn't take her screaming, but Yosei put her hand on mine. Don't stop. I'm fine. Her voice was strong, even if she was covered in sweat. I didn't hesitate anymore. If I did, I'd just make her suffer. Out! I used all my strength and pulled on the leech. Her body was spasming hard. The leech kept coming out. It was longer than I thought. It turned into a black lump and wrapped itself around my arms. It was squeezing my hands with incredible strength. Maybe these were its death throes. I gripped my teeth at the pain. I pulled it out, but I didn't know what to do with it. Pray. Yosei gently stroked my cheek, leaning her body up against mine. Pray that the impure wicked heart may become a pure one. The black wicked heart in my hand began to glow with a purple light, with a sound like a microphone feedback or a scream. Oh hey, it's his D-sword. It turned into a sword. The D-sword?
D-sword.
I wanted it so badly, but I'd never been able to get one. And now it was in my hands. Yosei's wicked heart had become a D-sword. You've awakened, Takumi. As I held her in my arms, Yosei smiled. She was still in pain, but she was smiling. There was sweat on her forehead, and her bangs were stuck to her brow. Thank you for waking up. Did I really do something worth the thank you? I couldn't tell. I wasn't sure. Takumi. Yosei put her hand around my neck. She held me tight. You're the only one who listened to me. Made me happy. So happy. Her body was so hot. The black liquid on her chest was gradually turning red. The blood stained my clothes too. I didn't care. I held Yosei tightly. Her breathing was ragged. Yeah. And with each breath she took, her whole body heaved. I could smell her sweat, but even that didn't bother me. I love you. Did I love Yosei? Maybe I was just dependent on her. But she was dependent on me too. That wasn't so bad, was it? Maybe we could just stay together, like this. Suddenly, the sky behind Yosei turned from reddish bronze to black. It was like a stain, or maybe a star. But the size of the stain grew bigger and bigger. It was on its way to blotting out the whole sky. What is that? I whispered in shock. Yosei also... Yosei saw that something was wrong. With my help, staggered to her feet to look up at the sky.
あれが
That's the king of wicked hearts, awakened.
ついに侵
His
略を始
invasion
めた
has
んだわ。
begun.
結局
Did I not make it in
私は
time?
間に合わなかったというの。もう止め
Is
ら
it
れ
too
ない
late to stop it?
そんなこと
I won't let this
させない
happen. Yase pulled her D-sword from empty air.
どうするつも
What
り
are you going to do?
グラジオル記目
This is
視
written
録
in
紙
the
幣には
apocalyptic
こう
songs
書
of
かれている
Gladia.
わ。7本の
When
デ
the
ィソード
seven
が
D
集まっ
swords
た
gather,
時
the great
暗
black
黒の
snake
大
of
蛇が
darkness
現
shall
れると
appear.
それは
It
純
is
粋
pure
なる
wicked
邪神の
heart
塊
made manifest.
邪
A
神をほ
wicked
ぶる
heart
こ
that
との
can
でき
slay
る
another
邪
wicked
神
heart.
あらゆる崩
That
壊を飲
which
み
is
込
the
み
same and yet
邪
different,
神王の身
which
を砕
swallows
くこ
all
とができ
destruction
る
and gets out of the
同
body
質
of
に
the
して
king
異
of
質
wicked
なるもの
hearts.
その大蛇を
I'm going to
出
summon
現させるのよ
him here
グラジオ
and
ル
defeat Gladia.
倒すために
She was still unsteady, but she somehow managed to raise her D-sword and close her eyes. It was almost like she was meditating. But I waited a moment and nothing happened. The sky had turned completely black now. It was almost like night had fallen. No, it was even worse. The blackness became a fog that settled over the city of Shibuya. It became a tsunami, filling the city of Shibuya with wicked hearts. It was getting closer, slowly, traveling along the rubble-filled ground. Everything was turning black. It was infecting the whole world without a sound. And then the wave was upon us, lapping at our feet. I let out a moan of despair. The rusty world was starting to rot. It was rotting, collapsing, turning to nothingness. And the people, the corpses, the rubble, everything was melting together and giving off a terrible stench. Ayase, isn't there something you can do?
どうして
Why? Ayase was licking her sword tearfully, ignoring my call.
ディソードが7
I
本
have
揃
all
っているの
7 swords.
どうして
Why
現
won't you
れないの
come?
このままじゃ
Gladia is
グ
about
ラ
to
ジオールに
swallow
世
up
界
the
は
whole
飲み込ま
world.
れてしまうわやっぱり
Maybe I needed the
黒騎士が
7
7
Black
人集
Knights
まらな
after
ければ
all.
どうしよう予言通り
Maybe
に進
I
めな
needed
け
to
れば
do it just like the
ダメだったの
prophecy said. The waves were getting higher and higher. They'd been at our ankles just 30 seconds ago. Now they were at our knees. And the strange thing was that I could feel my body resisting being swept away by the waves. Did that mean they were physically here? They weren't just an illusion? The thought terrified me. Shibuya was really about to rot away. Ayase, you need to come up with a delusion. One that defeats Gladiel. I screamed. I couldn't take it anymore. But Ayase shook her head.
私の妄
The
想
songs
じゃ
of
ないわ
Gladiel aren't my
グ
delusion.
ラジオール記は
Maybe not, but we should be able to change the prophecy and come up with a new delusion, right? That's the power of a Giglomaniac. No, a Black Knight, isn't it?
でも
Takumi. She was looking at me helplessly.
わからない
I
の
don't know.
どうすれば
I
いい
don't
の
know
か
what to do. No. I got it. I couldn't speak. The blackness was covering the whole world. The sky was completely dark. There were no stars, no light at all. The black waves were up to our waists, and a torrent of water was starting to pull us under. It was all we could do to stay standing. A half-melted corpse floated right past us, buoyed by the water. If I went under, I'd end up like that too. I thought maybe I want to scream in terror. What do I do? What do I do? No ideas came. I wasn't a hero, just a creepy otaku. Even if I had a D-sword now, I didn't know how to use it. It was completely useless. Somebody should just take me to a wall and kill me, right? Like in a crucified murder. And then I suddenly remembered. Past a song. The lyrics.
歌を
Sing.
歌うんだ。
It wasn't just a guess. It was the only thing I could think of. But I was sure it would work.
歌で
Your songs are
綾
what
瀬の
spread
妄
your
想を
delusions to
世
the
界に
world.
拡散させるんだ。
The world fest I created had captivated the youth of Shibuya. The myths of Gladiel by themselves weren't anything special. They may not even exist. Maybe they were an illusion that only Ayase had ever possessed. But now, that had changed. Phantasm songs had spread those myths to every young person in the city. She created a shared awareness.
だから歌うん
So,
だ。
sing!
グラジオールを
Sing a
倒す歌を
song that defeats
歌ってよ
Gladiel's
フェス
fest.
歌えという
You
の
want me to sing?
この状況で
Here?
歌を
You
歌
told
う
me
こと
before,
で
didn't
導き
you?
が現れるって
That your songs were
前に
what
言って
gave
たじ
you
ゃないか。
guidance. Yes,
そうね
I did.
言ったわそして
And that concert is where I met you.
匠と出会えた匠
Takumi. Yase reached out her hand to me. I grabbed it and held it tight.
匠は
Do you like them,
好き
Takumi? My
私の
songs?
歌
Yeah.
うん。
I listened to the CD I bought at the concert a bunch of times. I hadn't because of how much I hated crowds, but I actually wanted to go see her concerts a bunch more times. I nodded and Yase smiled and looked so happy. Even if this
こ
is
こ
the
で滅
end,
びても
maybe
別
that's
にいいか
okay.
もしれない
Now that I've heard you
匠
say
がそう言
that,
ってくれたから歌うわ
I'll sing.
聞いていて
Listen to me,
匠
Takumi. Yase closed her eyes. She concentrated, focusing her mind just for a moment, and then she took a deep breath. When she opened her eyes again, she wasn't Ayase anymore. She was FES, the lead singer of Phantasm,
最下に
a
契
bloody
約の
contract
地
for your sins. She whispered the name of the song and began to sing. Her voice echoed toward the dark black sky.
杭
Pound in
を
the stake.
杭
Pound in
を
the stake.
闇夜の
Tear
切
through
り
the
裂き
darkness
月
and bathe in the
光を
moonlight.
浴びて幾千
10,000
の
iron
鉄
hammers
は
bring
何時
you
の痛
pain.
みとなりて
Now
今
unleashed.
解き放たれるやがて
Your
叫びは
screams dance in the air, staining the night sky red.
夜空は赤く染まるだろう十字の
And the
杭は
crucifix stakes will get you
力と
power
な
and
り
bring you to the Holy Land.
やがて聖域へとたどり着く
The song's lyrics gave me the hint I needed.
綾瀬
Yase.
杭を打つんだ。
Drive in the stakes. I made a sound because the cat just abruptly licked me. By the way, that's what that was. The song wasn't about the crucified murder at all.
7本の
Bring the
地蔵度を
seven
合わ
D
せ
swords
て
together
闇夜
and
に打
pound
ち
them
込むん
into
だ
the。dark night. This was the song about Gladiel's defeat. The song that would liberate Ayase from her rusted world.
綾瀬の世界を
Destroy your world.
壊せ。
Ayase stared at me. Her eyes were ablaze with fire. I always thought she was most beautiful when she was singing. She felt so much more alive. There was no trace of the despair that had been there just a moment ago. Ayase understood exactly what I meant. She said nothing, just nodded. She held my hand tighter. As I struggled to stay upright against the black waves, I trusted Ayase with my D sword. When she took it, a red light surrounded it, and it disappeared. But it wasn't gone forever. The red light was swallowed up by Ayase's D sword, like something was guiding it there. I watched it go, and let go of Ayase's hand. She unleashed the power of a Black Knight. The air around her began to shake with an intense, violent blast of wind. The black waves were pushed back by the shaking air, and began to swirl around us like a whirlpool. There was not even a slight trace of the bored, languid girl that Ayase usually was. She raised her sword. She took a wide stance, and she swung. Her body was filled with nervous tension, and with the strength of will that was looking toward the future. The pure destructive impulses within her, the ones she was barely keeping in check, were ready to explode. The red pulsing grew faster and faster. The sword controls fate, or that control controls fate. That sword is a convergence of sorrow. The sword allows us to interfere with the higher plane. A double-edged sword, which swallows up wicked hearts and which buries them. The cry of Ayase's soul, seeking a salvation, took physical form. It was a manifestation of her chaotic heart. Her glare was locked on a single point. The black heavens. The one that had covered the blue sky I knew. The ones that had covered the red sky she knew. A sky of impure wicked hearts, about to bring darkness to the world. All that was left for me to do was pray. The king of wicked hearts, the Black Knight. It was up to Ayase which would be the winner. But strangely, I felt certain I knew who the victor would be. The myths Ayase had created with her songs would never lose to the king of wicked hearts. So, stakes! Pierce the world! May the door to the heavens be opened! With the speed of a bent bow snapping forward, Ayase threw the weapon with all her might. That's such a goofy CG. Oh, that's cool though. A line of light appeared in the air. The impact blew away the darkness, pierced the red heavens, and stabbed into the sky. And the sky cracked. The crack grew wider. And then, with a flood of sound, the world shattered. I like this one. I liked this ending, actually. It was a bumpy ride, but I liked it. You don't like how they killed and lobotomized the other Gigglemaniacs/Black Knights, but yeah, that was... Well, nice isn't the right word, but still. They didn't lobotomize the other Gigglemaniacs, though. That was Suwa. Suwa did that. Remember in Ending B? How he tried to break Senna's and Kuzupi's minds? But then naturally he got to Yua as well because he killed Bon. That was Suwa. They as in the dev/writers. Ah. Well. The next thing I knew, color had returned to the world. The sky was blue. I couldn't explain the color with words, but the sky I looked up at was blue. Had we defeated Gladio? If nothing else, the black mist covering the world was gone. A warm, soft hand held my own. Fiancé was standing beside me. She was looking up at the sky and wordlessly weeping.
青は
Blue,
あんな
such
に
a
美
beautiful
しい色を
color,
していたのね。
isn't it?
見えるの？
Can you see it?
見えるわ。
I can't.
匠が見ているのと
The same sky.
同じ色の空が。
Such a pure color. So pure, it seeps into your heart. So pure, it hurts to look at. I never knew that such a pure color was spread out right above our heads. Funny, well, not really funny, but fun fact, the word for pure in Japanese does contain blue. The more you know. Shibuya was buried in rubble. It was a city of death. There was no trace of the glitter and the brightness it had before. But Ayase looked at it, eyes squinting at the light, and said,
世界は
The world is such a
こんなにも
beautiful
美
place,
しいの
isn't
ね。
it? She softly squeezed my hand as she spoke. A bloody contract for your sins and me. I liked that one. I think thus far that is my favorite ending. Well, no, I'd say I liked it more than the first ending too. If you had a nickel for every time a science adventure game made a point of how good and nice the otherwise mundane blue sky is, etc., etc. Yeah. I don't think you guys were there when I read it, but like I was being goofy about like the Dokkyun puzzle murder, but that led me to just in general the New Generation Madness like page on the Chaos Head fandom wiki, and there's a bit of trivia there that points out that Shido from Steins Gate calls himself part of the New Generation, and I do vaguely remember that, and that is in direct reference to the New Generation Madness, and I am upset. I hate it. I hate it here. I'm glad I'm telling you guys now, though. You can understand my pain. You guys really like the bunny, huh? That was so out of context, the Google forum for the emotes. All of us being like, I hate it here, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, you guys really like the bunny. It's good though. I don't blame you guys. Have you guys seen the Wiggly emote? Isn't that great too? Isn't this beautiful? I love the Wiggly emotes. I definitely want to like make the Wiggly like more me-like rather than just like a recolor of the original. But yeah, the Wiggle is good, yes. But yeah, we have about 2 hours left.